What's going on, Chicago, and welcome to another edition of the Bare Minimum presented by 4 Star Chicago Sports. I am Bears on Brandon DePlacy. That is the crafty Dustin Jones. Dustin, how you feeling tonight?
I am awesome. Happy to be here. Another Thursday night, late night. We already got people here in the chat. Came over from BCP. Thanks for being here. We're going to get into a lot tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Whatever y'all want to talk about too. So keep the comments, keep the questions coming.
Hey guys, we did see a new Bleacher Report ranking on the NFL DBs, the cornerback duos. We're going to talk a little bit about how the rookies might impact this football team, and how much merit is there to this Luther Burden story, the character concerns that were reported prior to the draft. Well, that and more, guys, after this.
Yo.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us again on another Thursday night, a late night edition by the 4 Star Chicago Sports guys. This is the Bare Minimum. Dustin, let me ask you, I haven't asked you in a while. How's the baby? How's life? How's everything? Slowing down a little bit, or
baby is cute as shit, man. She's perfect. She slept so good last night. It was amazing. And we got to sleep in today. Dude, everything's been good, I mean, shit, ups and downs, things happen. Got back to work, and work's going really well, but just trying to find that balance, man. But life is good. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad, man. Staying busy between the farm and we just got a new horse too. She took on a boarder. She leased a horse, so
congrats.
We're up to 9. We're gonna have 3 pregnant this year.
So very cool.
We're gonna have a whole damn herd here shortly, man. But
how many of them are you the father of? Those horses, those impregnated?
I think theoretically all of them. As far as I'm concerned, with regards to the care that I give.
Yeah, I'm sure you give a lot of tender love and care, bud.
Yeah, that's right. Got to jerk them off.
We got Clip Victoria in here. Vizzo Joe Foster. Breaking news: Bruce staying up late with us. What up, Bruce? Everybody in
Bruce
the
had some car trouble yesterday. Bruce, I hope you got that all worked out. Hope everything is well. Yeah,
he's
thanks,
still
guys.
Stuck on the side of the road.
Yeah, you guys never came. I called somebody. Thanks for everybody who jumped over here from Bear Country Production. We appreciate those guys for doing that for us and sending you guys this way. And as always, check out their podcast if you weren't there prior to this, guys. They have an awesome show over there.
Relentless Mikey is a new member of the chat, and I saw that he subscribed right before the show. I got it.
Thank you, Relentless Mikey. You are relentless in your loyalty to this podcast. We appreciate you. Yeah. So, Dustin, I know not too much NFL news today. You had texted me about a few things, and a big name in regards to retirement, at least a player we've watched for a very long time. Go ahead, spill that. I don't even know what team was he even playing for.
CJ Mosley. CJ Mosley. He was on the Jets. He went from the Ravens to the Jets. That's it. I mean, he was a solid middle linebacker. Had a good career.
Yeah, his prime on the Ravens, man.
Really. Yeah, it was pretty solid. I mean, the Jets will make you retire. That's for sure. That organization will make you retire. I mean, I just thought it was noteworthy because he has been a good middle linebacker in the league for some years, and
he was really high.
Had a good, solid career. He was a
first round.
Yeah, he was a first round pick. Real Bears fan in the building. What up? Thanks for joining us.
What's going on, real Bears fan? I think that's Foster, isn't it?
That's the Foster that hates Caleb Williams. Yes.
Yeah, Chris Foster. We deciphered that last week. When I said decipher, he said, "Yeah, it's me." it's the extent of the investigation we did for that. So yeah, Dustin, let's dive right into this, man. You did send me the Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report had written or ranked the DB tandems in the NFL, at least the top 10. And for the first time, as you mentioned to me, man, to my surprise, honestly, to my surprise, and to yours, I think as well, they included both Bears defensive backs in a top 10 ranking, right? Because we see Jalen Johnson hit the top of these lists every year. He's an all-pro player. He's a Pro Bowl player every season. It's the Tyreek Stevenson.
The last two.
Drags this tandem down in regards to their rankings, at least. Maybe not personnel-wise, but for the first time, Bleacher Report did this, and they had the Bears between the two players, Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson, ranked number 6 overall. Where do you put this Bears tandem, Dustin?
Yeah, I just want to start out by saying, like, all these lists are just that. They're just lists made by a certain person who has certain thoughts. And I mean, as we were talking about, like Pat Surtain not being on that list at all with the whatever
With
cornerback you want to
whoever.
pair him, yeah, Jade Barron or the white guy
Whoever.
whose name I can never fucking remember for whatever reason. Like that, them not being on that list and high on that list doesn't make any sense to me. So I mean, it's just a list. And now we've seen like PFF comes out with their cornerback rankings, and Jalen Johnson is always in that top 10. But then when they do a duo, you know, they're never there because Tyreek Stevenson drags them down. And I just kind of want to point out that Tyreek Stevenson had a pretty solid season. I know he was much maligned because of the Hail Mary play and, you know, just like constantly being picked on, but he did allow 4 touchdowns this past season versus the season prior. He allowed 9. He cut that number in half. He had allowed 56% completion percentage and when targeted, and he allowed an 87 quarterback rating when targeted. And just so you know, those numbers are better than the numbers that Jalen Johnson allowed. I believe Jalen Johnson allowed like a 66% completion percentage and like a 92 quarterback rating when targeted. So I mean, Tyreek Stevenson did have some improvements in his game last season that he didn't really get credit for because the bad things stuck out in such a major way. But if he had less interceptions and he had less pass breakups, he did regress in those areas. But Tyree Stevenson did improve in some areas too. And like in this year 3, and when he's trying to earn this second contract, maybe he can put these things together and become that cornerback. Brandon, if you remember when he was drafted by the Bears, I said this guy could be a stud. I do have a feeling, I had a thought like he could be a better cornerback than Jalen Johnson, to be quite honest. And he still has time to put this together. And I just want to point out that he did have some improvements to his game last season that really didn't get talked about. And I think Jalen Johnson and Tyree Stevenson being ranked 6th on this list kind of makes a little sense to me. I mean, they're not the best tandem in the league, but they have a chance to compete for that. You know, given what we know, being in the middle of the pack of the top 10 makes sense to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and I think Tyreek Stevenson is the definitive literal sense of the term hit or miss. I mean, he either hits you or he misses, and he takes chances, man. And I think that all the tools that a really quality cornerback needs in the NFL, Tyreek Stevenson possesses 100%. He's very aggressive. He presses at the line and he makes big plays. Now, when you want to talk about the way this Bears defense has been defined under Matt Eberflus, it's the bend, don't break. Tyreek Stevenson was a big part of that, man. I mean, they would bend and bend and bend, and Tyreek Stevenson would always come up in the red zone making a big play. And that's what I love most about this player's. You know that when the big moment's on the line, when he's got his head in the game, that's what I kept texting you guys after that Fail Mary play, man, is what sucks about it is the guy who wasn't paying attention is the guy who's most likely to make a play on that ball. You know what I mean? He's the guy who does things in those moments, man. He's the guy you rely on when something like that is on the
And
line.
he did
Who
make a play on
shows
the
up.
ball. He did make a
Yeah,
play on the
yeah.
ball. It wasn't
Yeah,
a
he
great
he
one.
went and tipped it, yeah.
He got his hands on the
Oh,
ball because he
yeah.
likes to do that, and he's good at that, like you said,
That's
because
what
of
I
his
mean.
physical.
Like,
Yeah.
I believe personally, I'm going to say this in defense to Tyree Stevenson. If he was in that play from start to finish, he doesn't let that fucking catch
Oh,
happen, man. I
he's
firmly
there in
believe that.
time. He's
Yeah,
there in time to where he's
yeah.
not popping it up. He's
And he's
knocking it down,
defending
or
Noah
he's catching
Brown,
it.
he's defending Brown, who's just left alone in the back of the end zone. Like I
Yep.
believe he would have, and that's the benefit of having a Tyree Stevenson is you get that big playability. The guy does like I think he's a better play like on the ball defender than Jalen Johnson is, Dustin. I'll say that.
Yeah, and then
Um,
and as we talked about in this new Dennis Allen system, where you're going to be a lot more press man coverage and a lot more stuck to your guy, Tyreek Stevenson should excel in that versus sitting back in his zone because his aggressiveness can't. I mean, you can use it against him as an offense, but it is his strength in terms of his playmaking ability. So that will shine, as Vizzo Joe says here. Tyreek is going to shine in DA's defense, that press man.
and
Exactly.
under
Yes.
Al Harris too, which we did an entire
Yeah.
show about. And Al
And
Harris
Al Harris
asked
is
him,
in his ear consistently. Yes.
yeah, and asked him to attend a camp that was basically regards to character and how you approach your job, man. And he attended that gladly. And I agree, man. Tyree Stevenson isn't so much a player I'm worried about on this defense. I have a lot of concerns with this defense, Dustin. The cornerback position is not one of them. I do think Tyree Stevenson retains this job for the entirety of the season. I think he makes big strides. And I do think the Bears belong somewhere in the top 10. Now
And they could climb up that
we can
list.
pitch where they should be. They could fall two forward, two back. I don't care. They belong in the top 10. And strictly because Jalen Johnson alone is such a quality player, there's no way you can leave these guys outside the top 10. And that's why to not have Pat Surtain anywhere on that list is a little mind-boggling. But
yeah, the defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, but Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson could end up moving up this list by season's end. We have not seen them perform in Dennis Allen's system. We have not seen them perform. And as Foster pointed out, man, not putting enough pressure on the quarterback is always going to make it a lot tougher on those DBs. Now, if we can get consistent pressure on the quarterback, those two things work in tandem. That's a marriage, So if you're not getting the pressure on the quarterback, the DB's got to stay in coverage for longer, and it's just harder. If you can increase the speed of that quarterback getting rid of the ball, that could lead to more interceptions for a Tyree Stevenson or Jalen Johnson, who really hasn't really been an interception machine throughout his career. That's not really his game. He's more of just a straight cover guy that keeps the guy from catching the ball. But
he's locked down.
That's why I think Tyree Stevenson is so important to this defense, though, man, because he is the guy who can create the turnovers. As you said, he's a playmaker that can flip the field for this defense and then give the offense the ball in advantageous positions. And I think Dennis Allen's system is going to put him in position to make a lot more of those impact plays. And as you mentioned, Al Harris being that coach that's on his ass throughout this season will help him as well. So I think that there's a good potential that they climb up that list. It was Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon in front of them.
It was really quality.
Joey Porter, Darius Slay.
I was like, wow, there's some really good defensive backs in the NFL right now, man. I mean,
there are
more than that. There's like at least 15 teams that have a really quality tandem at this position. And I'll say this, man, I kept reading a lot about Dennis Allen's defense when he was hired and how innovative he is in terms of applying pressure and how he'll get pressure from different places on his defense. It's really what he's done with secondaries, Dustin, that impressed me the most. He's always had a top 10 secondary unit as long as he's been a defensive coordinator. Marshawn Lattimore made major strides under him. I mean, this guy has really turned players' careers around, and I think that you're right, he's going to get a lot out of Tyreek Stevenson, and he understands the strengths of a player. He's not going to be oblivious to this. He knows that Tyreek Stevenson needs to press at the line. We can't play this soft zone like these guys do, man.
The one thing to point out with this list, too, in terms of the players that are around Jalen Johnson and Tyree Stevenson, I personally feel like Jalen Johnson and Tyree Stevenson are two of the best cornerbacks at playing the run. When the run is coming at them, they're able to break down and make a tackle, and
they're really good tacklers.
They're both really, and that's something that gets overlooked with the cornerback stuff. But I think that's got to be part of that when you're talking about these kind of rankings. And I think Tyreek and Jalen Johnson both excel at that, and that's just another important part of the game that other cornerbacks on that list they're not doing as well as them. So, I think Tyreek stood out in that way a lot. I think that Fail Mary kind of just completely screwed his entire season. And as Foster's pointing out here, man, I wanted to answer this question. How much does one play change the entire season? Just for the entire team, right? Bears win that game. How does the remainder of the season go? Man, when that play happened, that you saw the life just fly out of that team. On the field, I think you saw their souls leave them. That destroyed that Bears season.
And I think, Foster, that's heavily dependent on the culture a team has, right? I mean, I think a Ben Johnson Bears team isn't broken by one play, no matter how it results at the end of a game. I mean, you lost a game because of that play, but I don't think a resilient football team falls apart after something like that. I think they come out next week pissed off, and they want more out of themselves. You know what I mean? And Matt Eberflus's Bears team was bound to buckle and fold at some point. Yeah, that play broke their back.
Yeah, eventually something like that was gonna happen. That was going to.
If it wasn't that play, it was going to be something else.
Yeah. Whereas, yes, I do have more confidence that if something. I mean, now listen, something like that happening on a football field it's devastating. It can morally just devastate you. But like you said, the leadership determines if you let that deter you for the rest of the season, or if that turns into motivation.
Let it define you.
Yeah. Real Bears fan says, if not for a horrible schedule, this team would make the playoffs this year. Talent-wise, they have the ability to compete, I think, but it is a very tough schedule, right? He thinks with the schedule, they're going to have to wait until the 2026 for the playoffs. I think that's a solid point. The schedule is very hard this upcoming season. It's the main thing.
Who knows what 2026 is looking like if they play like the AFC East and You know, I mean, and they're in the North, guys. The schedule is going to be tough for the Bears as long as Kevin O'Connell and Matt LaFleur and Dan Campbell are doing their thing, man. The Bears are going to have 6 tough games on their schedule, right? I mean, this NFC North is
Mm.
going to be good for some time. These are young football teams too, man.
The
All these
Bears have
games,
like 14 tough games. They're like all tough.
yeah,
On their
even yeah,
schedule
even
coming up.
even like we've mentioned
Yeah.
on this show a lot. Even the teams that didn't make the playoffs that are on their schedule this year are teams that were fighting for the playoffs a year
Raiders,
and over last year.
Cowboys, Bengals,
Yeah,
Niners. The Bengals and Niners stand out in that regard, but I think the Raiders and Cowboys will be improved this year too, man, from what they were last year. So it's like it's stacking up really hard against them. Cliff Victoria agrees with you. Noticed the D when he was watching Denver and New Orleans. Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator of those teams, really creative. And then John S says if they're good enough to win a playoff game, he thinks they are. They're good enough to win 10 games with this schedule. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna go to the playoffs and compete, you gotta win the games on your schedule. And what better way to do that than playing against some of the best
and
teams in the league to establish yourself, no doubt.
and John, I think it's really gonna be heavily dependent on how they finish in those 6 games within their own division. I mean, if you can come out 4-2 in your own division, you're making your odds for a playoff berth a lot more likely. That's for damn sure. If you come out of that tough NFC North with like a 1-5 record like you did last year, or even a 2-4 record, playoffs are looking grim to me, man. And that's not only because you just suffered 4 losses, but at the hands of the teams that you need to beat if you want to make playoffs, right? I mean, the best, the first focus that every new head coach has before playoffs is just winning your division, and that in turn comes hand in hand with a playoff berth. But Ben Johnson, who's coached in this division before, is going to be most focused on that. So I can say that, guys, we got a coach who knows the North pretty damn well. He knows the Lions especially well, and he's going to focus on winning this division. That's going to be his goal, even this year. And I know a lot of Bears fans are like, "We're a year away. It's a new offense. It's a new coach. That's not the way these guys are thinking. I promise you that.
No,
That's not what Ben
no, they're
Johnson
just
said.
no, they definitely have high expectations for themselves and what they're doing, and they're doing it in the right way, man. They're getting back to the basics, focusing on the fundamentals of football, focusing on discipline, focusing on all the things
Accountability.
that kind of fell away from this team last year. And as Vizzo Joe said, players this year are not going to be asking to be coached harder. That will not be a thing on with this coaching
Yeah,
staff in
and
this
and
upcoming
and
season.
and another thing, man, that really stood out to me, really stood out to me when early in the Ben Johnson hire was last year. This team, for whatever reason, appointed like 12 captains, and none of them felt like captains throughout this. Okay, your rookie quarterback was the only guy to me who felt like a true leader of this football team.
What up, Amph?
And Ben Johnson was asked about how do you define captains on your roster, and he said, "Oh, I think that stuff starts to take care of itself." You know, what I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
those guys emerge, they establish themselves as leaders, and then they retain that role for the rest of this roster, the rest of the locker room, for as long as they play here. That's what again, Dustin, just another aspect of earn it, right? You want to be a leader on this team? Fucking be it.
Yeah,
I'm not. I
and
don't want to appoint you to be. I want you to prove to me that
the
you are, man.
the competition will be real this year, and everybody who gets anything on this team is going to earn it. I firmly believe that, and the Bears are going to have to earn it if they're going to make the playoffs with the schedule that they have. That it's a gauntlet that's in front of them. They got to be up to that task. And Ben Johnson is spending this entire summer trying to make sure they're prepared to be as up to that task as possible. And I have supreme confidence in that. I didn't know that I would have that when we were looking for our head coach. I didn't know that I would have that in our
Yeah,
coaching staff,
we have
but I have that.
multiple examples
Yeah.
of this already, guys. We've seen Karan start a few OTAs at left tackle. We've seen Trapillo start some OTAs at left tackle. We know that Dominic Robinson was out there playing his ass off, and Ben Johnson told Dale, "Take a seat, man. Sit down for a little bit." So like you're seeing it. I mean, you're seeing the result. You're already seeing you're gonna, I'm sure, see the fruits of the labor here, but you're seeing the labor right now, right? You know what I mean? You're seeing Ben Johnson pretty much send a message to this entire team. Nobody's guaranteed anything, and you're gonna have to fucking earn. Like the Nate Davises who didn't show up, and they knew because they didn't show up because they knew I want to be starting for this football team no matter what happens at the end of the day. Ben Johnson's not going to let the players' mentality develop in that manner. So Yeah, Dustin,
Which
I agree
to
with
a
you. I agree with you.
roundabout way to kind of wrap all that up, it was for that Foster asking that question: does that season go differently if that game doesn't go the way it did? Well, it did, and the Bears did not, have resiliency. We expect the things that Ben
Yeah, they
Johnson's
folded.
doing now, and the things that Ben Johnson will continue to do throughout the summer when training camp starts and into the preseason will establish that resiliency to where when a tough time comes up, which it will, it always does throughout a long NFL season, multiple of them will, that the Bears will have the wherewithal to weather those storms and come out strong the next week and ready to reestablish some new momentum. The Bears did not have that capability this past season, and we saw it. And yeah, that single-handedly crushed their season. But like Brandon's saying, like I was saying, something was going to happen to make that happen. Something was going to happen to crush their season, regardless. It just came in the form of that Hail Mary play, but it could have been anything. This team was ready to crumble under bad leadership. And we don't feel like we have that this season.
Yeah, no, that was just it was just convenient that it happened on the final play of the game in order to lose, but it wouldn't even require that to me, Dustin. At some point along the line, they were going to do this because, like you said, man, team without leadership, the resiliency is not there, and especially accountability. I'll say this too, man. On that play, I firmly believe if you have a Ben Johnson as a head coach, you're calling a timeout when you notice a player's not really where he's supposed to be. And then, secondly, if that does happen, I don't think that Tyree Stevenson's benched
Get
for
the
a
fuck off
half.
the field.
Yeah, he's
Get
not
off.
benched
Yeah.
for a half
He's
next week. He's probably suspended for an entire football game at least, and there's probably a little more beyond that behind the scenes that.
Well, he's certainly benched for that play. If you call that
Yeah.
timeout, you're not going back out on the field,
No,
Tyree.
yeah.
If it were me and I call that timeout, I'm like, okay, you're not ready for this. I'm going to put
Yeah.
someone in here that is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with the Bleacher Report, man. I like the DBs being top 10. Dustin, you had mentioned this a lot when we were seeing the rankings, that you never see the two of them together at the top
It's
of
always
any of these
Jalen
lists.
in a top 10 list, but when you add Tyree Stevenson, in a lot of people's mind, that just knocks him down so far out of that list. And if you threw the entire Bears DBs in there, like I think this is a top 10 DB unit across the board. Throw in those safeties, right? Throw in Kyler Gordon as your nickel back. I mean, this should be a good secondary and a strength of this team, and it should have been last year. But as Foster pointed out, and as we elaborated on, it's a marriage between that pass rush and that secondary, and they both rely on each other to be able to make their jobs a little easier. So you got to get after the quarterback too to make these DBs, really sharp.
I know I'm on record saying this a lot on these podcasts. I think it's the most cohesive. The defense in the NFL is the most cohesive unit in sports. They all depend on one another more so than even an offense does. I think, man, I truthfully believe that if your pass rush is bad, no matter how good your DBs are, it's not going to look very good.
They're going to look bad too. Yeah, they're going to look bad too.
No. So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I don't want to pitch this as if it's my story, right? I'm not. This isn't what I'm reporting. I'm going to say the facts. I'm going to say where the sources came, like what stories came from what sources, and how we interpret it. I want to talk about Luther Burden. And Luther Burden, as of 2023, was a projected first overall pick. By 2024, projected first overall receiver in the draft, falling a little bit. By the 2025, by this last offseason, we saw where he fell, guys, the 39th pick in the draft to the Bears in the second round. So going from a potential first round pick to the first receiver off the board all the way back to the 39th pick. And I believe this is strictly based on the reports that came out during this offseason about his character issues, which is, I don't even know if I'd call him that, but a couple of reports, guys. So first and foremost, there was, the one that we all heard, the shot heard around the world that really hurt him, Todd McShay, who is, well known, and Mel Kiper McShay, well known for giving us the news and the insight on some of these guys in the draft. And Todd McShay said, you're getting a diva if you draft this player. So that was the first thing that came out about Luther Burden, is a diva type player. And then a unanimous scouting report on Twitter.
Unanimous.
Yes.
Twitter,
a tweet came out stating, this is from a scout, an NFL scout who decided not to name himself. He said his mother is a problem, his girlfriend's his acting agent, and he's good on Saturdays, because remember, he's playing college football. but not so much Monday through Friday. This is what was said about Luther Burden from a scout directly. So we saw the impact it had, guys, and it was widely reported that this alone, because the athletic ability is clear. I mean, every GM and every scout and every analyst knows that this kid can play football. It clearly impacted his draft stock, and it hurt his draft stock pretty damn bad. And I think Luther Burden takes this very personally.
I
And
think he
I think
should.
especially he responded to the comments about his mother. So I know that it bothered him in his heart when he read this stuff and heard this
That
stuff.
would piss me off.
Yeah.
It would piss me off.
So Dustin, I want to ask you, if it was just something that was blindly said and Luther Burden was drafted top 10 otherwise, it'd be a different story to me. But Luther Burden did fall and right into the Bears' lap, fortunate for us. But how much merit is there to this if it hurt his draft stock as much as it did? And is Luther Burden a concern for this Bears team? Is this a guy? Well, and first off, I want to say this real quick. Don't tie with any speculation. Do not tie the fact that Luther Burden is unsigned to the aforementioned character concerns, guys. None of the
Second round draft
round
picks
Yeah,
consistently
this is
do
just a
not
trend in
sign.
the NFL. It's not
Yeah.
even just on the Bears. It's through the entire league has this same issue, and I'll call it an issue loosely because it's just a trend in the NFL. So let's go ahead and negate that right away. But Dustin, how much merit do you think? Why do you think it is Luther Burden fell to the 39th pick?
Well, is it how much merit or is it why do I think? Because you just laid out why it happened, right? You just laid out that the reason that he fell.
But he also had a drop from 1,200 yards to 600 yards in his sophomore to junior year. So production was a big part of the fall.
Well, what question do you want me to answer first, Brandon?
Why do you think he fell the 39th pick of the draft?
Well, you said it. I mean, there was reports coming out that family could be an issue. There was reports coming out that he could be tough to deal with. There were reports coming out that he was a selfish player. But you also said
he was babied because he was a 5-star recruit.
And all these fucking guys are, first of all. Every single one of these guys gets everything that they want in college. They are the big man on campus. If you get a 5-star recruit at Missouri, obviously you're going to take care of that person. But anonymous is pussy, as Foster says here, and anonymous hate that. Say something, be accountable for your words. Pussy. Yes, it's pussy. There is no merit to it, Brandon. There never has been from the moment I heard all this stuff. And the Bears just happen to be great beneficiaries of the fact that anonymous scouting reports, kind of hurt his draft stock. Luther Burden has been a selfless player at Missouri. Luther Burden has done everything that's asked of him. A receiver on his team last year had a much better season than him, and he was blocking for him. He was not complaining about not getting the ball by all accounts from his coaching. He just went out there and played. He was a decoy for that team. You asked why he went from 1,200 to 600 yards, because every time they played somebody, the defense was just focused on him, and Missouri did use that to their advantage to get other players involved. Luther Burden has been great in the community wherever he's been. He stayed at Missouri, and he went to Missouri to stay in near St. Louis, his hometown, to be a hometown hero. He's done everything the right way. The reports are unfair. If it's anonymous, it's bullshit. There is no merit. There is no credence. Luther Burden, I don't think there are character issues, and I think there's no concern at all, and I've never thought there was. I was thrilled that he fell to 39 to the Bears, and I think the Bears got a steal because of it. And let's just throw out the possibility, because this happens in every draft, where these anonymous scouts start leaking negative shit about a player that's really good to get them to fall down the board so that they can get them and get a value on them. And what if the Bears did that in this draft, identifying that Burden was their guy? And if we leak out some bullshit,
Ryan Poles was the scout
playing chess. Who knows? I'm not saying that happened, but that happens in every draft, guy. That just happens where guys fall. They clearly have talent, and then there's these. It happened to Dan Marino. It happened to Randy Moss. It happened to Warren Sapp. Really good players that fell far in the draft.
Was the good one that you.
Cam Newton he's still drafted number 1, but there was a lot of besmirching of his name. Yeah, they tried. So I mean, this happens in every draft. So what if the Bears did that? All I'll say is this, man. Luther Burden was the second best receiver in this draft as far as I was concerned. The fact that he fell to 39 is a blessing for the Bears. The Bears don't have any issues here, and if there are any issues, they have a really good coaching staff to get that in line, especially between Ben Johnson and Antoine Randall L. I don't think that we have an issue here. I think Luther Burden is a high character guy who got his name dragged through mud. And if he's a diva and he wants the ball, that's what I want from my wide receivers. Well, I want my wide receivers to want the ball and think they're the best player on the field.
And I'm going to say this too, man. The receivers that were drafted prior to Luther Burden are all good players, guys. So it's not like people were reaching down the line to draft players past Luther Burden. I mean, you had Emeka Egbuka, you had
Emeka Egbuka is really good.
Yeah,
really
you had Tetero McMillan, you had Matthew Golden, you had Travis Hunter. So you had some quality receivers taken off the board before Luther Burden continued to fall. But I'm going to say I want to quote a couple of things here, man, from his college head coach, the coach of Missouri, who I love this guy's name, Eli Drinkwitz. That's his name, Eli Drinkwitz. Said, that is this guy's name. I'm talking to a lot of GMs, talking to a lot of position coaches, and giving the truth about who these players are. This is what he said to Rich Eisen on the show. There are these quiet critics out here who say he has a character problem. My response.
You're talking about the head coach of Missouri, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's these quiet critics out here who say he has a character problem. My response to everybody has been he's never been arrested. He's never had a public incident in our university. He's never once been to my office to complain about his role, and he's just generally a great teammate. Now, he even went on to say this. There's a lot of stuff that comes. This is what Tom McShay said. He's a diva. There's a lot of stuff that's going to come with Luther. The scout said his mom's a problem. And he said, never once did, this is his head coach, his college coach again, never once did he try to negotiate NIL. He said, never one time did I hear from him or his parents or his agent about his NIL contract. He said, this is Luther Burden, and I quote to his coach, I'll trust you. Never once was he's the highest played football on my team. People are out there saying stuff. And he said to his head coach about his NIL money, there's only one conversation I had with him when he was here about his NIL deal. He said, Coach, I trust you. You always take care of me. Whatever you think is fair. That's what Luther Burden said after leading the NCAA, or no, sorry, I believe he was third in the NCAA in receiving yards after his sophomore year. This is the conversation he had with his coach. Guys, even the non-diva players in college football have a year like that. Not only are they already in the transfer portal, Dustin, you know what I mean? You're leaving Missouri. You're going to fucking Alabama to win yourself a championship. After
USC.
Yeah. And the money that's on the table after you explode onto the scene from Missouri, the money that's on the table played no part in Luther Burden's future. That to me is where the merit falls apart on these scouts and their reports and all this stuff, man. I mean, this guy didn't give a damn about himself when he was probably the best player on his football team after his sophomore season. He cared about staying by Missouri, continuing to be coached by the guy that he loved, and trying to win as many football games as he could for the program that he committed to. That's a big deal to me, guys. Because
he's a selfless player, Brandon.
Yes.
He's a selfless player. He is not selfish. He does work in the community with kids. Like, this guy is a high character guy, Brandon. And what you just said proves that. Now, I got to question the guy's business ethics a little bit. If you're not trying to get the most money, I feel like these players should be doing that, especially in college where they weren't paid.
And they mostly are. But that's why this is pretty outstanding.
For sure. I mean, to trust your coach, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I think it shows a level of character. But I mean, Vizzo Job says this, and I want to comment on this. Luther Burden has more TikTok videos than practices. If you're hurt, you're hurt. You obviously can't practice. He will get in the building. He will be practicing. He will get on the practice field, and you will see the impact this guy can make. I mean, if he's growing up in this generation of kids, man, TikTok is what they do. Everything's on social. You can't fault him for that really either. I don't think so. I don't think that it's a distraction to him playing football. And I think if he was healthy and could be playing and practicing, then that's what he would be doing. I don't think you can hold that against him, Vizzo. I don't think that's fair on either count to hold that against him. And yes, as you say right here, Ben Johnson wanted that pick. The slot receiver is the most important position in his offense in terms of the passing game, and he wanted a really good one, and he got one. And he got one at 39 because of all this bullshit. I've called bullshit on it from the beginning, Brandon. I'm glad you wanted to talk about it tonight because I really just wanted to say straight out, I have no doubts about Luther Burden. Nobody else should either. If you want to be an anonymous scout giving an anonymous report on a guy, I don't respect shit about what you're doing. And every year, like I said, there's these bullshit anonymous scouts, and I hate them every year, putting out weak reports on guys, trying to knock their character, trying to knock their Wonderlic scores or whatever, and you wonder what the motivation is behind that. And generally, it seems like they're trying to tank the draft stock of a guy to get him to fall down the board. Now, what that does, though, is that impacts their money. That impacts their ability to earn on that first contract. So Burden, he took a hit there. You know what I'm saying? And that sucks for him. But I think there's a lot of motivation here with Luther Burden too, Brandon, because he did fall. He has said it already flat out. Like, all these teams owe me something. All the teams that passed on me, they're going to pay, basically, is what he's saying. And I believe him. I believe him 100%. I love that he has that motivation on top of already being a high character guy, a selfless football player. He embraces the no block, no rock mentality, and he will be a damn good teammate and a damn good football player for the Chicago Bears. And Ben Johnson's going to help him get there. So is Antoine Randall L. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch his progression as a Chicago Bear, a homegrown elite playmaking wide receiver who will house the ball every time he touches it. He can do that. He has that ability.
And Visual Joe, another thing
what up, Phil?
You have to appreciate, regardless of whether or not he's healthy and able to practice right now, is with every bad word that was said about Luther Burden, the concern on why he fell so far is because every scout, GM, and analyst knew the talent is there. I mean, this kid is explosive. He's an athletic freak. He is one of those, give him the ball and he'll make things happen on his own. But if you put him in advantageous situations, it's even better. This kid is a fucking star in the making. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to the accolades, the tools required to play at the NFL level,
the skill level, the talent,
Burden had it ability. In college. He had it in college, and that's why he was burning guys in Missouri. And not surrounded by the best talent. I mean, I don't know. I think other than maybe the left tackle, he might have been the only player drafted out of Missouri this year. So, I mean,
him and Membu, Armand Membu, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about a really, really quality football player who I think the Bears are going to find a very special role for, Dustin. Especially, I think, again, maybe it comes in the ways of returns or just hand him a ball in the backfield. This is a guy who Ben Johnson is going to get the ball to, without a doubt, even if he's behind on his routes and his ability to understand this offense. Ben Johnson's gonna. This is the kind
get
of
the ball in his hands and
Ben Johnson's gonna
plays.
say, just find a way to put him on the field.
Get the ball in his hands. Let him make plays with the ball. Let him make plays after the catch. That's what you want to do with Luther Burden, and I think that's perfect for this Ben Johnson offense. And I just
because if Burden wasn't all that good, it wouldn't be a story, right, Dustin? Him being drafted at 39, if he was just a guy. You know what I mean? If he's just your typical runaround receiver from college football, if he's drafted at 39, nobody's going to bat a fucking eye. Why this made such headlines is because it's like, damn, this really, really, really good dude is falling all the way into the second round. Like, they kept showing him on a camera during the live draft. Like, he's still there. This is crazy. It was the same Shedeur Sanders. Like, I can't believe this guy. How is this talent still hanging out there?
Not the same. Well,
yeah. Well, with regards to the talent being left out there, there's a lot of people that are wondering, why is Luther Burden still sitting here waiting for a phone call? And that's because he's a damn good player, guys.
Yep. And I just want to say, man, anybody who's doubting Burden, anybody who doubted him going into the draft, anybody who doubted him during the draft, any Bears fan who now doubts him because he's not on the field because of this injury or the contract not being signed, which is, as you pointed out, a totally normal thing for second round picks in the NFL, especially over recent years.
Yeah, none of the second round picks are signed.
Yeah. There's I think 2 of them that have signed, but it's
not on the Bears. The 3
second round picks for the Bears. Yes, I think there's 2 or 3 in the entire NFL who have signed. But my main thing that I want to say is you're going to eat your words. Luther Burden is going to shove your words right back down your throat. He is going to be a stud for this team, and it's going to happen fairly quickly. I think. I don't
and
know. I think
you'll be happy to die on it.
Yeah, no doubt. As a Bears fan, for sure. But don't be on the wrong side of this, man. I mean, I don't buy into any of this shit. It reeks. It smells. I don't like it. I have it the entire time. The only thing I do like about it is that it enabled the Bears to get the steal of the fucking draft. The Bears got the steal of the draft in Luther Burden. I feel confident in that. Maybe in 2 years I'll be eating my words. It's possible. Anything can happen in the NFL, but I feel very confident in the skill set this guy has, and then the mentality he has, the character he has, and the coaching that he's going to have to help get him there, and the fact that he's got DJ Moore there and Roma Dunze to lean on, and a quarterback in Caleb Williams. It's perfect. It's a perfect situation for Luther Burden,
and
it's going to play out really well for him and the Chicago Bears, I believe.
One of the college scouts did say the Bears were so blessed that these stories were written. So blessed. Like there was a scout who literally said there's no reason that a football team should have acquired this guy where he was drafted. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. How convenient for the Bears. Like I said, there's always that possibility that teams do they sabotage players in the draft to get them to fall. I don't know if the Bears would have partaken in something like that, but it feels pretty it's pretty serendipitous that Luther Burden fell to the Bears at 39 because of these reports being out there. It's a real, like you said,
and that is why
it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And Vizzo says Burden's pro comp was DJ Moore. He's also been compared to Antonio Brown. He's got a great skill set, and I just don't see how it doesn't reveal itself in the NFL. He's got everything that he needs to make this transition. The one thing that you do get concerned about, Brandon, is him not being able to participate fully in this offseason. So when training camp comes around, if he's not out there, you start to get a little concerned. I do, for sure. Like if you don't start seeing him getting on the field to practice with this offense more early than the preseason, that's where it gets a little concerning, and then it could take a little more time for him to get involved into this offense in the regular season.
I'm already a little concerned about the injuries because, guys, we knew what to expect with Colston Loveland. The guy had his shoulder basically rebuilt. I mean, you knew he was going to miss majority of this stuff. Luther Burden has a soft tissue injury, guys. This is a pain in the ass injury. It lingers. It's tough to decide when it's healed. A player might get back on the field and start to feel it again. I mean, this is one of those things that just kind of sticks around for a while. So yeah, I'm concerned. I don't like the soft tissue stuff, man. I hate reading that. I hate reading anything in the legs, and I hate reading soft tissue stuff. That stuff's a pain in the ass to get by. And it's like a groin injury. You know what I mean? It's stuff, something that lasts weeks, man. It's just really hard to play
like
through.
That, or the hamstring, those
you
things.
Can do, the legs. You can do further damage too, guys, with this stuff. Soft tissue. You can do further damage. So I can guarantee you this. Even if Luther Burden says to his coaches, listen, it hurts a little, I'm good, I want to play,
they're going to be cautious.
They're not going to take a chance. No way in hell. They like this kid. They know what he's capable of. They're going to wait as long as they need to because they have Roma Dunze and DJ Moore.
Yeah, there's no need to sacrifice the future for the present when he's already going to be competing very hard for targets with the receiving core that is already in place that he's being added to. It's a very good point. They don't have to rush him. They can slow play this thing and let him get healthy, but a big part of you as a Bears fan wants to see him on the field as soon as possible so you can see him start getting acclimated with this offense and see what he can physically bring to this football team, because there's a lot there, man. But the longer it takes, though, that does become the concern, no doubt, Brandon. You can't control injuries. You just can't, and you can't hold that against the guy. But at the end of the day, eventually you got to get on the field. So, I mean, it's very early on, and we got the whole offseason really in front of us, so he can get out there and he can get going. But if he doesn't, that does become concerning, and that is the one legitimate concern around Luther Burden as far as I'm concerned. The rest of it is all bullshit.
Yeah, this makes for a good segue, Dustin. We'll stay right on subject with Luther Burden here, but moving in another direction, I want to talk about the possible impact that these rookies the Bears have drafted will make on this football team in the 2025 season, especially on the offensive side of the football, because like you said, Dustin, there's a lot of mouths to feed here. And these guys are rookies, so they're going to take second place already to the starters who have been on this football team the year prior and guys who have done it in the NFL before. So we'll start with Luther Burden.
What's up, Jason?
What kind of impact if Luther Burden does get healthy, he gets on this field, he gets some practice in him, he gets a preseason in him, what kind of impact and how early should we expect it from Luther Burden?
I am super high on Luther Burden. You know, I've been high on Burden throughout. Before the Bears, I even thought the Bears had a chance at him. I even projected him to go to the Bears at 39 and kind of
Yeah,
willed
you
that
were
into
telling
the.
me you were
Yeah.
telling me in the middle of the last college season that he's a much better player than Tetero McMillan. You were
Yep, I
saying
have him. I have him well above him, and I think he can make a bigger impact in the NFL. But I do want to say again, as I pointed out, this receiving room is strong, and I have so much confidence and hope for Roma Dunze. I believe Roma Dunze is going to break out this year, and then you already got DJ Moore here as well. So it's like and then you drafted Colston Loveland, number 10, who we're going to talk about. You still got Cole Kmet. You still got DeAndre Swift. There's targets to be eaten up in the passing game. So Luther Burden finding those targets is my biggest concern, especially given that hopefully he's in there for training camp and he can get himself involved in this offense. But you signed Zacchaeus as well in this offseason. So there's competition for targets for Luther Burden that he's going to have to overcome. I think once the Bears know and see what he can bring on the field, it's going to be impossible to keep him out, but he's going to have to earn it. And he's starting from behind right now. So it could be a little bit of time. You could see the middle of the season until you start seeing him make a real impact for this team. But I mean, that's like worst case scenario to me. I think best case scenario is he hits the ground running week 1 and breaks a big play immediately, 50, 60 yards. And you're just like, okay, he can do this at any time. If you just got to get the ball in his hands as much as possible. And he becomes a featured part of this offense and a featured weapon for Ben Johnson. That's your ceiling. Your ceiling is like he could get 800 to 1,000 yards as a rookie just by getting involved in the short passing game and breaking big plays, and the Bears just can't keep him off the field. Now, if he starts from behind and he has to work a little harder to get in there, you could see that take a little longer to develop. And I still think his floor, is a 600-yard season with 6 touchdowns somewhere in there, which is pretty solid for a rookie receiver in a really good receiver room that the Bears have. I don't know where you're at, what you think of that, but this guy can make an impact immediately, given his skill set.
Yeah, and I still like it's up for grabs. I like the competitive approach that this coaching staff has, and Dustin, I think Luther Burden's going to take that approach, and he's going to have the mentality that anybody else would have. Even though there's 2 really good players in front of him, why not still have that thought process, right? Why not
Mm-hmm.
still believe in yourself? Why not make it undeniable? Why not? If you're Luther Burden, why not go out there and say, "Yeah, Rome is good, DJ's good. I'm
But
fucking
I'm
better.
better. Yeah,
I'm better,
yeah.
and I'm gonna
He's
go out
he's
there.
the type
I'm
of
gonna
guy to
go.
do that too,
I'm
Brandon.
gonna
He
go
is.
out there and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna show you that, and I'm gonna make it so that you cannot leave me off this football field. I'm going to take snaps from players that you consider better on paper. That's what I'm gonna do. That's the impact I'm gonna
I'm
have.
going to force you to put me on punt return. I'm going to force you to want to hand me off the ball on an end around. I'm going to force you to want to get me involved in the screen game immediately. Yes, he has that mentality and he has the skill set to back it up, Brandon. He does.
Yeah, I really like his attitude, man. Anytime, and that Visitor said he's making more TikTok. I love his TikToks.
Yeah,
I love
yeah, for
everything this
sure.
guy does, man. I like when he takes the podium. He doesn't come off like a young person. He doesn't come off like a rookie. He comes off. I mean, and
He comes
I
off like a straight G,
he
Brandon.
comes off like he's had a
He's a
kind of a
gangster.
like
He's a
he's had a little
gangster.
bit of a tough, like
Yeah, he
people were
has.
tough on him throughout
Yeah.
his childhood, man. I mean, he comes up like he's been raised a man. So yeah, players like that to me, man, who also have the athletic ability to play the game. It's just hard to believe that he's not going to carve out a role for himself on this football team. And Ben Johnson's going to see something there, man. Antoine Randall already does. I mean, I believe that Luther Burden has the potential to be a really big impact on this offense as early as 2025, man. I do. I think, and I think this, Dustin, we've talked about this a lot, man. The difference the Bears have here from most other NFL teams is you have 3 guys that could all be, number 1, number 2 receivers on any other football team. You
And they
have
could all
to,
be a slot
you,
receiver too,
you
Brandon.
have
They
to,
could all be a slot
yeah,
receiver. They can play. They're versatile.
you
Versatile.
have to exploit this. If you're Ben Johnson, you got to put defenses in tough positions by putting these 3 guys on the field together. This will really, really, really burden, no pun intended, the defense that you're playing. If you put 3 guys out there in which the defense has to concern themselves with who do we cut, who do we double, who's the guy that we need to stress the most here. That's an aspect most NFL an element most NFL teams don't have the luxury of doing, man. I mean, it just is like I
The
want to
Bears
see
receiving core is strong. The Bears receiving core, top to bottom, is a top 10 receiving core in the NFL. I think. I believe that.
And I think that's up to Luther Burden, and I think he's going to prove you right, Dustin.
Roma Dunze as well. Jason Toy says that's what I want to see from Burden, get the ball in his hands. Michael Kwell, have we seen this name before in the chat? I've never seen this.
What's up, Michael?
Let's get you the clap. Thanks for joining us.
Please elaborate, Michael. We love chat. We love having a debate.
We've kind of talked about the concerns and how we think they're all bullshit already. If you're just joining us, But
I don't know what problems in regards to health.
Are you talking about all the injury? Are you talking about the character concerns? What are those? Cliff says, but also Michael, subscribe, my man. Thank you for being here. Cliff Victoria says Burden could be the perfect slot guy. Razzle Dazzle, our resident wet towel. We love Razzle Dazzle, but he's always like, don't put the projections out there. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. I mean, I am not a Kool-Aid drinking Bears fan, Brandon. You know me. I am a guy saying,
you are considered pessimist by every person.
By all of our Bears fan friends are like, you just never think the Bears are going to be good. Listen,
and we're always right.
We've been right a lot about the Bears being bad going into seasons, no doubt. But Razzle, we got to have something to talk about. It's the off season. There's nothing going on. We are just projecting it out because that's what people want to talk about. And we want to know what the best case, what the worst case is. And we want to, kind of give our opinions on that. It's just part of what we're doing. If we didn't do that
from our couch, Dustin, you liked Luther Burden for a long time. This isn't because he's a Bear, he's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, he could have easily been somewhere else, and I'd be saying the same thing. Yes.
You're standing firm on an opinion that I've known you to have for at least a year, man. I mean, at least a year. Razzle, you might have just missed that. Dustin was texting me about Luther Burden in the early parts of the last college season. I mean, this is a guy that Dustin wanted on the Bears. You said the Bears are going to take this guy if he falls to 39, and here he is. And he is a damn good. This guy had like a 1,300 yard season his sophomore year at college with a subpar quarterback, if you ask me. So, I mean, this is a guy who can make an impact. These are the kind of guys you want to start to see the Bears to draft. And I liked Tyler Scott, but Razzle, there was a question mark looming over Tyler Scott. That was like he's a 5th round pick. Can this guy make an impact in the NFL? Luther Burden, by all measures, should have been a 1st round pick. He should have, and because of some,
he had the talent and ability to be a 1st round pick.
And that's why I said it. I wanted to stress a lot during the early segment. He absolutely fell in this draft because of the things that was said about him, not because of talent,
and not because of anything he really did either. Like it was all just. It seems like it to me. It was all made up bullshit. I don't buy into it. And I also just want to say, man, we're creating content here. We got to have some shit to talk about. If you got other stuff to talk about, throw it out, Razzle. We'll talk about it. But that's part of this thing that we're doing, this podcast. We got to have some stuff to talk about, and we'll go out on a limb, and we could be right, we could be wrong, and that's okay. And I've also said repeatedly, I expect it to be a slow burn for Luther Burden. I really do. And in terms of how I expect the season to go, I don't expect Luther Burden to be an all pro as soon as he hits the field for the Chicago Bears. It's going to take some time, and you got a lot of competition, a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. So Burden's going to have to earn it. So obviously we're going to have some patience here. I want to see how it goes as well, Raz.
And I might not even expected to see Luther Burden if Shane Waldron's the offensive coordinator of this football team, Dustin. But here's another thing, not Vizojo, sorry, Razzle. This is a coach that finds a way to exploit a player's strength. So Ben Johnson, if he sees something that he thinks Luther Burden does well, I mean, this is not Bears bias or drinking Kool-Aid. You know as well as we do what Ben Johnson's capable of when it comes to finding a player's strength and exploiting it.
And he's very capable.
If he sees something in Luther Burden that he's like, well, that this guy does that better than anyone else on this football team, he's going to make him do it often when the regular season begins. Man. That's why Ben Johnson got himself a head coaching job.
And think about this. The offensive mastermind that every Bears fan wanted became the Bears head coach. And his first 2 picks, he singled out, identified, these are 2 guys I have to have in my offense. Colston Loveland Luther Burden. He went and got, imagine the confidence that gives to Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, Brandon. When Ben Johnson, this offensive mastermind, says, these are the two guys that I can add to my offense to really get the engines moving, to really get this thing humming.
This is the oil I need.
He has
well-oiled machine.
He has a plan for these guys, and it's starting from the inception of his coaching career with the Chicago Bears. Imagine the confidence that gives you in Burden, if you're Burden, if you're Loveland, and I think that should give you confidence as a Chicago Bears fan if you actually believe in Ben Johnson. He identified these guys as the guys he needed to have in his offense. And the reason they're here, guys. And
I don't want to beat this to death because I've mentioned it on a lot of shows before, Raz. I'm sure you've heard me say it, but I'll say it again. This, it's not biased. You're looking at what's here, and then based on what they've done in their careers previously, you're trying to project here. So Antoine Randall took a 4th-round pick in Amon-Ra St. Brown and made him a multi-year Pro Bowler.
He was a 5th-round pick.
5th, and $150 million player in the NFL. And then he took a guy in Jamison Williams who was suspended for PEDs and gambling. And coming off an ACL tear, and made him a 1,000-yard receiver last season. I mean, you have the pieces in place for Razzle. This is where the difference is to me from all the Bears past and now. The coaches are guys who are well known for developing young players into stars in the NFL.
And as you just said, Ben Johnson and Randall L. did it together in Detroit with those guys, Brandon. And we have the precedent.
And even more so with guys who already have the talent to do it, Dustin, because you guys don't hear me on this show preaching about Kyle Monangai, right? I continuously I try to slow people's roll on him like he's a 7th-round pick. Just remember that. Some of these guys don't make rosters. Luther Burden was projected to be the 1st overall pick 2 years ago. He was projected to be the first receiver taken off the board all but 6 months ago. So, I mean, this is a guy who has the talent to play the position, and he's being paired with coaches who have a history of doing right by those players, man. So,
Razzle,
you have the evidence here for a good story, man.
Razzle's becoming one of my favorite chatters.
Oh, Razzle's the man.
He's always hitting us on the shorts and leaving the comments on YouTube, and we love you, man. And I agree, we got to see it on the field. But in the meantime, we got to have some shit to talk about. So here we are. What else you got, Razzle? Send some stuff our way. We'll talk about it, man. Because it's tough this time of season. They're not on the field. It's the games aren't happening until the real meaningful games aren't happening until a couple months from now.
We're just not a couple of guys who are going to beat up OTAs a whole lot, man.
I don't really think OTAs is that special. I want to see these guys play with pads on. So I'm with you, Razzle. Get the pads on. Let's see what this team really has. But in the meantime, here we are. So let's go. We're gonna keep talking about this.
And then when you read the stories, man, Caleb Williams is throwing more completions than he has attempts. That's a pretty big deal.
Foster saying Bears don't develop.
That went by everyone. Who was that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Who was it, Infante? I said, then you read the stories and it's nothing but good news. Caleb Williams is throwing more completions than attempts.
It wasn't Infante. Was it Divine? Was it Ben Divine? I think it was Ben Divine on X. He was like, Caleb has completed 153 out of 148 passes. He's fucking that good. he's completing passes he's not even attempting. That's how good.
That's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's making up numbers to make him look better.
Razzle's gonna let us do it. Thanks, Razzle. Listen, we love you, Razzle. I keep coming, keep having these conversations, keep us grounded. Bears fans need that, no doubt, because the hype train gets rolling and we get over our skis and then we end up tumbling down the damn hill. That's what happened last.
No, I want to watch a game. I want to watch a football game with Razzle Dazzle. I do.
Yeah, I bet he would be a lot of fun to watch a football game for sure. Cliff is going to bed. Cliff, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you. Hope you hit that like button already. I'm sure you did. Cliff is always a great member of the chat as well.
Thanks, Cliff. Thanks for being here as always, man. Appreciate you in Florida, man. I envy you, sir.
Yeah, love Florida, man. My mom lives out there. I love getting down there. Jason says, I can't wait to see our O-line first game of the year. So Sean's excited. There, that's some dude.
That's where Sean is.
Is he still there? He's not back yet?
No, comes back Saturday, I believe.
I figured you did, Cliff. I figured you did. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everybody here. Again, Jason, Razzle, Cliff, Foster Covers, the BCP guys. We had Carl in here earlier. Vizzo Joe, another one of my favorites. Michael Kwell, new member. Hopefully he's liked and subscribed as well. Keep the comments coming, guys. We're so happy you're here. Honestly, it would be no fun without you guys. Me and Brandon would still do it. It just wouldn't be as much fun. We'd still be talking shit about the Bears and sports in general right now. Probably at one, our wives would be like, "Are you on the phone with your girlfriend or your boyfriend?"
Yeah.
Well, who you texting? Your boyfriend?
Yeah. I would naive. No, Dustin, you've been promoted to husband.
Razzle, yeah. Razzle says you haven't seen nothing. We do it big for Bears games. All right, let us know where, man. Maybe we can do like a live show or something. And here's another new member of the chat. I've never seen this gentleman before or lady, whoever you are. Connor. Thanks for being here. We're gonna get you a clap.
More BBC stuff. I think is this a different name from the guy who was here a week ago talking all that BBC?
A running theme for us is this BBC convention? It's the AWC convention. What's up, Connor? How you doing? Bear down, Bears.
What's up, Phil? What's going on?
Pleasure, guys. Great show. Jason, you're the man. Thanks for being here. What else we got here? What else we got? Do you think we covered the Luther Burden thing? We can move on to Colston Loveland because there's some stuff I want to talk about with that, man. I want to get out into the ether. Yeah.
Let's discuss our 10th overall pick in the draft, Dustin.
The number one pick of the Bears draft, 10th overall, drafted a tight end. His name is Colston Loveland. He has not practiced yet. He's still rehabbing, obviously, his injury. So we need, and Phil's getting ready for the gym. That's right. He's a night owl, man. Jesus. Or maybe his day's just starting. I don't know. But Colston Loveland, future tight end one for the Chicago Bears. And the conversation continues to be who's going to be more impactful this season. It just naturally happens because you got these two tight ends. Cole Kmet was taken aback a little bit, obviously, when Colston Loveland was drafted. And the conversation just continues to be who's going to be the guy that stands out. And you got Bears fans making the case for Cole Kmet. You got Bears fans making the case for Colston Loveland. And honestly, either one of them being successful or both of them being successful will be great for this offense and for the Chicago Bears and us as fans. So I hope great things for both of them. But if I'm reading the tea leaves here, and I don't know if Bears fans have thought about this, and we were talking about this earlier, so I just wanted to throw this out there and see what you guys think. In Detroit, Ben Johnson took over play calling in 2022, right? That's when he took over, and TJ Hawkinson was the tight end one for the Detroit Lions at that time. Halfway through that season, before the trade deadline, TJ Hawkinson gets traded to the Minnesota Vikings for a second-round pick, you said, Brandon?
Second-round pick, yeah.
Yep. That season finishes out. Hawkinson is gone. They turn around the next offseason in the next draft.
I think it was actually two. They robbed.
They got. I
think it was two second-round.
They got. I mean, they got a good amount in return back for TJ Hawkinson, who's a solid tight end. I thought it was kind of ridiculous how much they did get in return for him. You are correct. Now I do remember that. But the point is that Ben Johnson took over this offense, and before that season could even end, they got rid of TJ Hawkinson. And then they turned around in that next draft and they drafted Sam Laporta in the second round. And Sam Laporta kind of took that offense to another level, right? That's what happened. Am I misrepresenting that in any way?
Not speaking out of turn at all. Nope. That's my perception of it. And then Sam Laporta proved to be a better fit and a better player.
Yep. And the offense became more explosive with Sam Laporta in it. Now Ben Johnson takes over for the Chicago Bears. Cole Kmet is already in tow here. He's already here. He's your guy. If I was going to compare Cole Kmet to someone between Sam Laporta and TJ Hawkinson, I would compare him to TJ Hawkinson. A little bit slower, but reliable. Guy who's going to catch the ball, work the middle of the field, not going to
super athletic.
Yeah, not going to razzle dazzle you with the athletic ability. Cole Kmet is similar to me to TJ Hawkinson. Cole Kmet is here. Ben Johnson takes over. His first pick, his number one pick in the first round, draft 10 overall. He takes a tight end, guys, who's more athletic, who's a more of a physical freak, and who's just a better pass catcher, route runner. He's going to be those things. That's why Ben Johnson drafted him. You don't just draft a tight end at number 10 overall if you're confident in the guy you already have. I'm sorry. As much as we would love Cole Kmet, that doesn't happen, right? It does not happen. So I feel like there's some parallels here, and I just wanted to point them out and kind of. Who knows how this is going to go? Maybe he does use 2 tight ends. He 100% does. But how much do you want to be paying those 2 tight ends? Is Cole Kmet long for this Chicago Bears team? And if he is or isn't, I foresee Colston Loveland overtaking this tight end 1 spot pretty handily and pretty quickly, pretty early on in this process, Brandon. I think Colston Loveland is here for a reason. And I think if you look at what Ben Johnson's done in the past, this lines up kind of similarly to where it's opening up the door for Colston Loveland and might be shutting the door on Cole Kmet.
Yeah, and I think I was talking about this last night, Dustin, on the show. I think when 2 players in at the same position on a football team, one guy is always going to take that alpha role, Dustin. That's just how this works. You don't often see, you know what I mean? Like it's just how this works in the NFL. It's the dynamic that exists. It's not like both guys are going to finish somewhere dead even, split it down the middle. I mean, one guy either develops a better relationship with his quarterback. The coaches are more impressed, so he's just on the field more. The coaches see the other guy for
the talent just kind of rises to the top.
Or it's like, hey, Kmet, you're doing a much better job of blocking. Colston's struggling at this. We need you to block. You know what I mean? Somewhere along the line, I do think Colston Loveland will establish himself as the guy that Ben Johnson can rely on to move the chains on this football team, man. And that's not to discredit Cole Kmet for anything. There's just, guys, when you have a player who can do things good, right? He's good at things. And then you have a player at the same position who can do the things that guy can do and more. It just
do the things that guy can do better, probably.
Yeah,
you know,
it
at a more exceptional level.
There's no way you can't justify to me to project the guy who is doing things okay to be dominant in the role. I just don't see that. And I know I put that about as layman's as stupidly as I could, but like that's just how I see it. If Colston Loveland comes out, we just talked about this, and shows Ben Johnson, I fucking deserve to be on the field, man. Don't take me off the field. I'm going to impact this team in a positive way, and I'm going to help this offense get in the end zone and move the fucking chains. Why would you take the guy? Why would you then in turn be like, well, we have this guy who's getting paid this much, who's been on this team. We're loyal to him. No, it's not how Ben Johnson operates. That's why we're happy about Ben Johnson, because he's going to identify who's better at this position, the same as he is any other position on this football team.
He's going to identify strengths and maximize those strengths of every player for sure. So that could work towards Cole Kmet as well. You don't know until we see it on the field, as Razzle has pointed out on multiple occasions. But I think that parallel is very important to point out, that Ben Johnson has been in this situation, and he was okay with moving on from TJ Hockenson and replacing him with Sam Laporta. And as soon as he gets into Chicago, he gets another younger, more athletic tight end, while you still have that tight end in place. So this is even more kind of glaring right now than
if you're
that
a general manager
was.
And listen, here's the best part about Cole Kmet's production, because Cole Kmet's been a pretty good tight end, man. At least, especially, he's gotten a ball in the end zone. He's getting a fair contract, I would say. And I think most NFL teams that are hurting for a tight end would love that contract. And I think Ryan Poles, who just gave Durham Smythe a little bit of money, who just drafted this top 10 pick tight end with a top 10 pick, would love to get something in return for Cole Kmet. If I'm the general manager, that makes sense, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get value for an asset that you have.
Can I? If a team's dying for this position and thinks they could be competitive for a Super Bowl this year, can I squeeze a 3rd-round pick out of you for Cole Kmet because he's on a really good deal? You know what I mean? This conversation will come up. There's no doubt about it.
It's very simple to me. It's really very simple to me. Like, put yourself in the GM spot, or say you're playing Madden, whatever. Like, everybody wants to talk about how, well, Cole Kmet doesn't drop the ball, and Cole Kmet is super reliable. And if you would extrapolate his stats out for this way, then he'd be doing this and this and this, and he could be a top 5 tight end in the NFL. If you were a general manager who had that tight end and thought those things about him, would you spend a top 10 pick on a tight end while that guy is on your roster? Does that value make sense to you?
But I'll tell you this, Dustin. I would be pitching all those things that all those people keep saying to me about Cole Kmet if I'm Ryan
to
Poles.
other teams.
That's what I'm pitching. That's what I'm pitching to everybody else in the league. Hey, this guy never drops the football, man. He's had this many touchdowns. He had a 700-yard season, guys.
Those things are true. Those things are true, but I just think you're trying to talk yourself into something. It's very simple. Like I said, you drafted a tight end at number 10 overall. There is a reason for that. You are not going to end up paying 2 tight ends who could be top 10 tight ends in the NFL to stay on the same team at the same time. That's just not going to happen. The writing's on the wall here for something to go down. I think Colston Loveland will establish himself in his rookie season as the best red zone threat on the Chicago Bears and a good safety blanket for Caleb Williams by the time the season is done. And I think it's possible we could see Cole Kmet out the door before the trade deadline this season. If you look at the way history's gone with Ben Johnson and the kind of tight ends he likes. I think again, you don't spend a top 10 pick on a tight end if you are happy with the tight end that's currently on your roster. That's not how you divvy up assets in the NFL, man. It just doesn't work that way. It's really that simple to me.
And if you think, Dustin, that let's say there's potential, like Ben Johnson's thinking at some juncture, like at the end of the season, Cole Kmet won't be on this football team. Like I said, you want to get something in return, and most teams get a little desperate prior to the trade deadline. Not often not usually during the off season. So, if your thought process, what's up, Oliver, is to move on from Cole Kmet at some juncture, you try to take advantage of teams in the middle of a season, man. That's when trades. That's when people make that's when you trade second round picks for Chase Claypool. That's when things like that occur. So if you're an intelligent GM, you're also looking at things in that way as well. And I'm with you, man. And I do think
the Patriots did pay 2 tight ends, Oliver. It was Hunter Henry, and who was the other guy? And it just
Jonnu Smith.
And it did not work out well for them at all.
Neither one of them got a super big contract.
I mean, they got decent, like double-digit millions per year at the same time, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and neither one of them there was a game where Jonnu Smith would play well, and then there was a game where Hunter Henry would play well. There was never a game where the two of them made major impact. That's what I mean, guys. It was
a bad use of their assets.
It's natural for one guy to be dominant over the other, and let me tell you this right now too, Dustin. These 2 players.
I think the better example, real quick, the better example is Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, who they drafted and they had in rookie control contracts. That made some sense. But when you start talking about second contracts with tight ends that are supposed to be, top 10 in the league, that doesn't work. And also, Aaron Hernandez was a very different player than Rob Gronkowski. Aaron Hernandez could not do what Gronk did, and Gronk could not do what Aaron Hernandez did.
More like a receiver, a big receiver.
Yeah. I mean, he was a Y kind of guy. He was a scat. He was a scat guy, move around the field, a joker.
And they also had terrible receivers through those 2 guys' careers.
It's very different, I feel like, in this case. It's very different.
And we can talk about this in regards to fantasy, guys. How many times have there been 2 tight ends on a football team that are both fantasy valued players? How many times has that happened?
It's never. I mean, Gronk and Hernandez. That's the only one that I can really think of. I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain.
It's very natural for one guy to dominate the role while the other guy to kind of.
It's tough for one tight end to dominate the passing game in general by himself, man. Like that's just not.
I don't even mean tight ends. I'm saying at any position in the NFL, it's one guy typically steps forward and dominate and becomes the alpha in that unit, while the other guy kind of fades into the shadows. That's just how it typically
receivers goes. It works with receivers pretty well in terms of having
still you have a guy like as good as Jordan Addison is. Justin Jefferson will always be better, as good as Devontae Smith can be. AJ Brown is that dude.
But I can justify paying 2 wide receivers like the Bengals did, and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I cannot justify
but
that.
Even
at the tight end spot.
T. Higgins, I was like, man, I would have probably just let Joe Burrow throw the ball to somebody else, man. But
I mean, if you're having that conversation, you're talking about how that number 2 wide receiver can dominate when that number 1 gets all the attention, and once that number 2 starts dominating, then the attention comes off of that number 1 a little bit, and now you got the defense on their heels. Yeah, exactly. It's just very different with tight ends to me personally. And as much as Ben Johnson likes to use 2 tight end sets, that's not debatable. I just don't. I feel like, as you said, the cream will rise to the top. the best player will show themselves in this season. And I think that player, just in terms of just athletic ability, skill set, and the type of game that they have, like Colston Loveland, will just bring a different dimension to this offense that Cole Kmet has no possibility of bringing to any offense. It's just, that's why he was drafted at number 10. That's why, because he can bring something to your offense that not a lot of other tight ends in the NFL period can bring. So it's not a knock against Cole Kmet. It's just the reality of the situation. And I think the Bears are going to find themselves having to make a decision because of the position they put themselves in. And I think they knew that when they put themselves in that position, as you pointed out, Brandon, eventually, and hopefully you can move that contract to Cole Kmet and get some value back for it, because Colston Loveland is the future of this position.
And I think, and so to stress even more, guys, that this is not a knock against Cole Kmet, I think you could. People were asking me. I got asked a few times on some Facebook groups, what do you think Cole Kmet is worth in a trade? And I said, if you do it at the right time,
at least a 3rd round pick.
When a team feels like they need a tight end, that might change. Like a team who's fighting for a playoff berth thinks we need a tight end. We're a tight end away from being a really dynamic offense. A 3rd round pick. That's what I said. I said Cole Kmet is worth a 3rd round pick because he has been a pretty solid football player, man.
But and in saying that, Brandon, we're also saying that he does not have the value that TJ Hawkinson had when he was traded.
No, he doesn't.
And TJ Hawkinson, I don't think
he's a better player than
Cole. He is. And I don't think TJ Hawkinson has the ability or talent to be as good of a player as Colston Loveland could potentially be. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not. No. And I think when we're talking about the impact a rookie makes, guys, I was going to say this when we were talking about Luther Burden, but I wanted to wait till we actually got to Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland will make the biggest impact as a rookie on this football team.
Yes,
100%. Firmly believe that. And I believe he was drafted the 10th overall to do so.
Yeah, Ben Johnson says, this is the guy I want with my first ever pick as the Chicago Bears head coach. This is the guy that will unlock a part of my offense that I don't have the ability to do without him. Like that. That's, again, the confidence that gives Colston Loveland is huge.
He even said this guy will unlock an aspect of an element of my offense that Tyler Warren won't unlock.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. The guy who everybody wanted, which was so funny to me, man. Everybody wanted Tyler Warren. Every scouting, every podcast you watched, every Bears fan that posted something on Facebook was Tyler Warren. And as soon as the Bears took Colston Loveland, it was like, we could have taken an edge. Like, well, wait a sec.
You wanted a tight end.
Yeah.
And if the Bears, if Ben Johnson, the offensive genius that you wanted to be the head coach, identifies him as the best tight end in the draft, then you got to have some confidence in that. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that the Bears spending that kind of draft capital on that tight end spot tells me that the writing's on the wall for Cole Kmet. It is not going to continue to be these two for the next 3 to 5 years. Colston Loveland will establish himself early as a better player than Cole Kmet. I like Cole Kmet. I never was very wowed by his athletic ability or his ability to make a play after the catch. I mean, he's done it. He actually honestly surprised me. He has surprised me over the past couple of years with some of the things that he's been able to do. But I just don't think it's anywhere near the level of what Colston Loveland's going to be able to do. And like you said, he's going to make an impact on this team early on. This season, you will see it. You will see.
Let me ask you this too, Dustin. Declan Doyle was asked, even though he wasn't playing because he's nursing his shoulder after the surgery. Declan Doyle was asked after the first OT of the rookie minicamp, what drew you guys to Colston Loveland? Because I think I told you guys that like Declan Doyle was the guy facing the media most. What drew you guys to Colston Loveland? He used 2 words, and I want to ask you, would you define Cole Kmet with either one of these words? He said his ability to finish. He's a finisher. And his explosiveness.
Yeah.
Do you define Cole Kmet with either of those terms? Cole Kmet's reliable. He's smart.
Yeah, he's dependable and he's consistent for sure. Like those things, but there's just a whole nother level to, like you said, the explosiveness and the ability to make contested catch. Cole Kmet has consistently will not get the first down when there's the opportunity to get that. If he catches the ball short of the first down, I don't expect Cole Kmet to go get that first down by making guys miss and extending the ball. Cole Kmet doesn't do that very well. Colston Loveland will do that very well. And that's why he's on this football team, even though Cole Kmet was already here, because he does things that Cole Kmet cannot do. Period. End of story.
That's what Joe says. Cole Kmet will stay in Chicago and play for the Cubs. I will miss the touchdown celebration, man. I'll say that. I love the touchdown celebration. It's very subtle. He just drops the ball, swings the bat, but I like him.
It's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty.
And the choreograph that those fans did, you ever see that, the clip? Where the fan pretends like he's pitching and the other
one goes to catch it. Yeah.
Robbing the home run. Yeah, that was one of the better moments in one of the Matt Eberflus era.
This will certainly be construed as us knocking Cole Kmet, as us not liking Cole Kmet, as us being just always having been.
I liked Cole Kmet at Notre Dame. Always I was a big advocate of the Bears drafting Cole Kmet. I don't know if you remember that. Like
I was unimpressed when he was drafted. I just kind of is a guy who can get the job done, but the position can get better. And Ben Johnson thought the same thing as soon as he got here. I like Cole Kmet, but the position can get better. We can be more dangerous, more explosive. We can have more of a threat at that position.
Upgradable, replacement level.
That's why Colston Loveland was drafted, guys. That's why. It's not a knock against Cole Kmet. It's just the reality of the situation to me. I think Colston Loveland can make a big impact on this team as early as his rookie season and be the guy who potentially leads the Bears in touchdown catches this season.
And Oliver Carter here says Ben Johnson reminds me of a throwback coach using the tight end as a weapon. And more, you say throwback, Oliver, which I find to be ironic. And I agree with you that this was old-time coaches thought these guys were very important to their offense, and they were right. But this is the way the NFL is moving if you get the right guy. There's a modern-day tight end, right, Dustin? There's a modern NFL offense tight end. There's a different mold for this position now. And Greg Olson himself said Colston Loveland is this modern-day tight end. He's your George Kittle, your Travis Kelce, really efficient at running routes. He can make plays after he catches the ball. Almost like a really just an oversized receiver, which we will see this year. We'll see him play that position like Brock Bowers does sometimes. I mean, this is the way the
Colston Loveland here. Have we ever seen Cole Kmet in the slot and been like, oh shit, he's about to dominate out of the slot,
or on the edge, or on the outside? Loveland's going to play some snaps on the outside.
You're going to spread Loveland out wide, and Cole Kmet might still be there on the end line, blocking or coming off the line of scrimmage for sure. But Colston Loveland can be moved all around this offense.
Well, how about this, Dustin? What did you think to yourself when this Bears offense ran screenplays to Cole Kmet last year?
What the fuck?
What are you doing?
Yeah, that is not Cole Kmet's
all the
strength.
Players.
Yeah.
If you see Colston Loveland catch a ball, a screen, and you got some blockers in front
of him, at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield, you feel a lot better about it.
Yeah, you're going to be like, this dude's about to make some shit happen right now, man. This is about to turn into something for sure. That's undeniable. That's undeniable that when you saw Cole Kmet in that position, you thought to yourself, I don't care who you are.
What is this coach?
You thought, what the hell are we doing? Yeah. We have DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, and that's the guy you gave that ball to? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It just didn't, man. And it still doesn't to this day.
So it opens up a whole new dimension of your offense. It adds an element to your offense that you did not have. You're able to move him along the entire offense. He's versatile, so you're able to utilize him in many different ways. And that's just something that Cole Kmet does not bring to this offense. And it's clearly something that's important to Ben Johnson to have in his offense. So I'm just reading those tea leaves and saying, this is the direction that this is going. If I end up being wrong, I end up being wrong. Colston Loveland could be a bust, but we got to have some faith in the guy that we wanted to be our head coach, and that's Ben Johnson. He has a vision for Colston Loveland. He's not tied to Cole Kmet.
Bizzo Joe says it right here. Loveland was the second pass catcher taken in the draft.
That says a lot.
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you, Bizzo Joe. And I don't know if you remember, Dustin. We were doing a live draft show when this all happened. This went down, and I kind of got heated for a minute because some of the panelists around us, there was some woes and some oohs and some whats and some whys. But I just
gotta trust Ben.
I went right into this is the fucking coach you wanted.
Yep.
This is the first decision he's made in an NFL draft as a head coach in his life.
And he picked this tight end over the tight
Yeah.
end you wanted.
Yeah.
But if
so
you
let's-
wanted him, you got to trust him to be able to identify this talent and to know what his offense needs to hum, right? You got to trust him.
I said to everybody, let's relax, take a breather, and have some faith, man. And I'm not the guy who usually says things like that. Like, let's look up.
Yeah, I started to come around on the Colston Loveland thing as it was leading up to the draft, especially as you started hearing more reports like this guy was climbing up the board. And we'll just say this too. If a guy like Sean McVay, another offensive mastermind in the NFL, is trying to move up to get a guy like Colston Loveland, that says a lot too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Sean McVay and Ben Johnson wanted this guy in their offense for
I don't remember his name, man. If you're in the chat, please reach out and call me out here, man. I can't. For last night there was a guy, I think it was Mike or something. His name escapes me, man. But he said, why take it? Colston Loveland was a waste of a pick. Why didn't the Bears trade in the draft to get a tackle to make to protect Caleb Williams? And I said, it's kind of funny that you say that because nobody wanted to move in the first round of the draft. That was widely reported. The NFL teams, nobody anticipated. Like the Jaguars surprised everybody by making that happen to get Travis Hunter. But I said the only tool the Bears had in their pocket in order to move anywhere in the draft was teams wanted Colston Loveland. That was it. That's the only thing that was reported is they received phone calls during that draft before they made their pick by multiple teams that said, we want that Colston Loveland guy.
And the Bears clearly wanted Colston Loveland more than they wanted whatever they were being offered to not take him.
Yeah.
So that says a lot as well, guys. The Bears had a lot of conviction on this pick, and that gives me a lot of confidence.
Teams, we're talking about. I mean, I think the Broncos.
In previous regimes, that would not give me confidence. In this regime, that gives me confidence.
So, one of those teams was the Denver Broncos, Dustin. I believe they picked in the early 20s. I mean, that they were willing to move up almost 10 picks to get their hands on Colston Loveland. There's a lot of GMs in the NFL and a lot of NFL scouts saw, and like you said, Dustin, his name was starting to make a lot of headlines. Before that draft, we were starting to read a lot of Colston Loveland. Kyle even said this would be the pick I hate the most because Kyle had made aware on the show. He had made the chat aware during that show. I'm starting to read this in the headlines. This Colston Loveland guy's really crawling up the boards, man. So,
Jed is with us. What up, Jed? Thanks for being here.
Jed?
Loves Komet. Yeah. Loves Komet, but might not stay in Chicago if the price isn't right. It's smart to plan ahead, and I don't mind getting to see what a dual threat at tight end might look like. Yeah, 100%.
Well, the price is already dictated. He got his extension.
Yeah, he's got 2 more years on his deal, right?
I think if it's the price is right, I think if another team offers something that you can't deny, like that you can't decline, like a 3rd round pick.
I mean, if Loveland is the future and Cole Kmet is going to finish out his contract and walk away for nothing, if that's your option, or you can trade him and get ahead of it and thinking ahead, right? Planning ahead again and get some value back, some kind of draft capital back,
which I believe
for your troubles. Like you have to go with that. It's always better to go with that than to let the guy walk away for nothing or put yourself in a position where you do have to turn around and pay him again. I mean, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to go that high.
You talk about Ben Johnson moving on from TJ Hawkinson. Ben Johnson gave a few names from OTAs and guys that he's been impressed by, and one of them was a tight end.
It was the undrafted tight end,
Joe Wilson. So yeah. So it's not like if you moved Cole Kmet, Ben Johnson's thinking we got nothing. You know what I mean? He likes some of the other players on this football team as well. So maybe he wants an opportunity for Joe Wilson or for Durham Smith.
And if it becomes established that Colston Loveland is the main guy, the alpha, as you said, Brandon, and that second role is just the value doesn't equate to a $10-11 million a year contract, that only makes sense to move on from it. It only does.
And I do want to stay, Dustin, on the offensive side of the football when it comes to the rookie impacts. A guy that I think
he didn't get extended, Jed. Just to be clear, Brandon was not saying he got extended, but he got his second contract a couple years back, and there's still a couple years on. Like the price.
Yeah, I think he signed for 2 more years. I think he got a 4-year deal. He signed it 2 years ago, right, Dustin? It would be now 2 years starting this season.
He is under contract for, I believe, the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Let's just double check.
And it was a good deal, man. I thought it was a good contract. I remember thinking to myself when he signed the contract, like, wow, the Bears got him at a team-friendly price, a deal. And Dustin, you know what I almost immediately thought to myself? They signed him to a deal that other teams would be enticed by. That's literally what I thought. And I don't know if you remember this, Dustin, but before we drafted Colston Loveland,
He's signed through 2027 under this contract. This year,
and
9.9 million with 1.6.
so it was last year that he signed. It was a 4-year deal. So it was
he
last
signed
year
it in 2023. It was a 5-year deal.
Okay,
5-year deal, 50 million.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, we were kind of mulling over some ideas on what we might do for a show when the news flattened out in regards to the NFL. And I said to you guys, well, there was this report for the most tradable player on every team, and how this was dictated by the author of this article was, has he been productive, and is his contract fair? And the name that popped up for the Chicago Bears was Cole Kmet, and I remember texting you guys, I 100% support this. 100%.
It makes total sense, Brandon.
This is before drafting Colston Loveland. We didn't even have another tight end on the football team. And I
at that time it made less sense, but now it's like, again, the writing feels like it's on the wall here. You don't go draft a guy that high at a position that you feel comfortable with. You don't. If they drafted a quarterback at number 10 after having Caleb Williams on their roster, you would have major questions about Caleb Williams. And Cole Kmet does seem like the most likely guy to be shopped and moved if that were to happen. And that could happen as early as this season,
and
depending on how Colston Loveland performs.
In his defense, he was on that list as most tradable player because he's
been productive.
Pretty good football.
He can get you something back. He would be worth something.
Yeah,
and now you've kind of made him expendable if this pick of Colston Loveland works out.
I was going to say to you, by the way, man, I didn't push back on that at all, but Cole Kmet did get extended. His rookie contract never ended.
I'm not saying it's his rookie contract, but he didn't just recently get extended. He said he
got an extension, and I think Ryan Poles got ahead of that pretty. And like I said, for a rookie,
well, he got his second contract in 23. Yes.
Ryan Poles did not want that guy to hit the market, and he got a good team-friendly deal on Cole Kmet, man. I mean, this is a guy who's going to be a trade asset. He is.
I thought it was an overpay at the time, Brandon. I did. Again, like I like Cole Kmet. I've always thought, like you said, that's a replacement level type of player to me. You could improve that position, and I thought that 5 years at 50 million was a little rich for my blood for what he had given you. Now then, after he got that second contract, he did come out and have his best season. I believe he had 7 touchdowns that season, right? Like
700 yards.
Yeah, he got in the end 8 touchdowns. He got in the end zone a decent amount that year that Justin Fields' favorite target, getting into the end zone. But I mean,
it was the first year DJ Moore was here, I believe.
Yep. But it's just, again, I think you can get better production out of that position. I think the Bears thought so too. That's why they drafted Colston Loveland. So we'll see how it plays out this season. Worst case scenario, you got them both on your team for the next couple of years, and you got 2 really good tight ends that fill 2 very specific roles for you on your offense, and that's not a bad worst case scenario.
So Jedediah Residenza says, "Let him walk," or you can't let him walk. Then you get nothing. You
have to get something for him. You can't just let him walk.
Jedediah says, "Unless Cole Kmet, I expect him to be traded some." So I mean, like, this is the general consensus too by a lot of Bears fans. And there's never any hate. Nobody in this chat has said Cole Kmet sucks. There was a guy yesterday that said he's a jag. He's just a guy.
Another guy.
I think it was Melon Smasher, but.
Sounds about right.
A lot of people, that article that was written about the most tradable player on every team, that came from somewhere, man. I mean, a lot of people think this Cole Kmet's on a decent deal. He's got decent production. There's a lot of teams that could use Cole Kmet. We have a Colston Loveland. We can shed a Cole Kmet. I want to stay on the offense side of football in regards to these rookie impacts. I want to talk about a guy who's we've been pretty split on here, I think, on this show, man. And I've tried to ground the fan base when it comes to this player, and it's the 7th round pick, Kyle Monangai, the running back the Bears selected.
You're jumping right to the 7th round, huh? Okay.
Well, because I want to stay on playmakers. I want to stay on the guys who might impact the offense, carrying the ball. But I want to slow the roll here on Kyle Monangai. If you ask me what his impact's going to be as a rookie on this football team, I'm going to say very minimal. That's where I can get into a little more on why, but not just because the guy's a 7th-round pick. I do believe that the Bears are going to see, they're going to exercise their options here with Roschon Johnson. They're going to see what they have there. And I think DeAndre Swift's production will increase. I don't know that his carries will. I don't think they will. 253 is a lot. But I think they're going to want DeAndre Swift on the field as much as possible. He's clearly the most talented back. What do you think in regards to Kyle Monangai? What kind of impact can he have on this rookie, on this team as a rookie? And how long will it take him to carve out a role under Eric Bieniemy's tutelage?
Yeah, Brandon, I mean, what you're saying in terms of slowing the roll, I did that immediately when the Bears drafted him. He was a 7th-round pick for a reason. But that being said, I just want to say right off the bat, it was a great value pick for the Chicago Bears. To get a guy with that production in the Big Ten in the 7th round, that's a steal. It was. And by all accounts, so far, all Monangai has done with these coaches is impress. He's just continued to impress. I wouldn't open the door for him to have an impact on this team if I felt better about Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson hasn't really impressed as far as I'm concerned in his time in the NFL.
Yeah, you said it best on the Monday show, man, that he's failed the eye test as far as I'm concerned, pretty miserably.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot of guys that can go in the NFL and get that 1 yard, man. I mean, he hasn't. Much.
Yeah, exactly. So if Monangai could bring anything more to that role, then that door will be wide open for him. I don't think the Bears have just decided that this is what it's going to be. Like Roschon's got that role. As we've said multiple times, it's going to be earned. And Kyle Monangai is getting a lot of attention from Eric Bieniemy. He's going to get ridden hard by him all year, and maybe that'll produce, a diamond out of some coal, that pressure. And we've seen a lot of examples of running backs drafted late that do make an impact on a team early on, man. That there is a good precedent for that in the NFL. And I guess that kind of just goes to show that you can find a running back anywhere, whether it's we've seen guys signed in the middle of the season that end up playing a big role for teams through the playoffs. The running back role is strange. I expect big things from DeAndre Swift. I don't think that because DeAndre Swift's going off, that takes away from whoever that's going to be in Roschon or Monangai, because those are going to be two very different roles. It really comes down to me that Roschon has just not established himself as that guy that's unassailable in terms of earning that spot. So Monangai has a chance to have more of an impact than you're given credit for with the way you led that off. It's just based on that to me.
I think he's going to be far more used than his projection by ESPN. His ESPN projection was 18 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown or something like that. I think you're going to see more than.
I won't be shocked if he has 75 to 100 carries. I won't be shocked.
I think with the counseling of Eric Bieniemy, if he gets the receiving aspect out of Monangai that he's been lacking through his collegiate career, this is a Kareem Hunt type player. I mean, I don't think this isn't a guy who's going to jump out. He's never going to be your 3-down back in the NFL. I think the Bears knew that when they drafted him, but I think he could very much serve a purpose, a specific role on this football team. But still, I want to stress, not a role better served than DeAndre Swift.
No, DeAndre Swift is clearly the best back on this team. It's not even close.
Even if he passes Roschon Johnson, I still expect maybe 6 to 9 carries in a game. Like, you know what I mean? I still.
There's going to be a good balance, but there is a need and a necessity for those carries to be taken by someone else besides DeAndre Swift. Kyle Monangai or Roschon Johnson is going to have to play that power back role. It is between those two as of right now. The Bears are running with what they got, it looks like. And again, I'll just keep going back to the fact that Roschon has not really established himself in my mind as a guy that you have to get the ball to. Maybe Monangai could. And it's been pointed out by people like, well, Roschon's bigger than Kyle Monangai. So how can Monangai be the power back? It's not just about your size. It's about your ability to get leverage. Kyle Monangai falls forward every time he gets tackled.
And he stays low when he runs.
Because he's so low to the ground already. He can out-leverage a guy and get under their pads and push them forward, and he's very strong. It's not just about his size, just because Roschon's 30 pounds heavier or whatever. It doesn't matter. Roschon's also has a higher center of gravity. So Monangai can establish himself as that guy because he does fall forward for 2 to 3 yards every time he gets tackled.
Roshan doesn't get very low, even when he's
No,
even at the point of attack.
he has a harder time. He's a little taller.
And he played quarterback. It was new to. I don't think it's just not his second. It's not nature to him to be low. But
Monungai could be the second
Oliver,
back. I agree with Oliver here.
Yeah,
I
but I want to ask
Oliver.
you. I want to ask you, Oliver. Even if he is, how big a role do you think that? So,
can you ask me instead of Oliver? Because I can answer.
This is from what I've seen. The one thing that we consistently see out of David Montgomery on that Detroit team, guys, was he was in the red zone a lot. He had a lot of touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns, multiple seasons in a row. I think that's where that running back's best served is in the red zone when you know you're going to be on the short yard, like some maybe, 2nd and 3 or 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1, stuff like that. I think DeAndre Swift, when it comes to the majority of the field, is the back that you're going to want on the field, man. I think Brandon, he's still a better running back than Kyle Monungai.
Of course he is
a better player than Kyle Monungai.
We're not going to have the conversation about Monungai being a running back one, Brandon. That is not the conversation we are having. But when you look at what DeAndre Swift is able to do and how that's going to be, how his strengths are going to be accentuated in this offense, which Ben Johnson is going to do, at the same time, you got to recognize his weaknesses. And that means that there is a role to be made for a guy who can get the tough yards for you and the touchdowns, like you said, in short yards, goal line situations. Somebody has to establish themselves as that guy. And it's going to be between Roshan and Kyle Monungai. Could Kyle Monungai beat out Roshan for that job? Yes. Is he going to get anywhere near DeAndre Swift in terms of what Swift's role is on this team? No, he's not going to be a running back one for the Chicago Bears. Again, anything's within the realm of possibility, but I think DeAndre Swift's talent is much better than any of the other guys in this room, Brandon. But if you're going to ask me what kind of role that he could have, that secondary back, it's a fucking huge one on the Chicago Bears team. Ben Johnson is going to want to establish the run, and sometimes it's got to be just punch the team in the mouth across from you. And the Bears couldn't do that last year because Swift is not that guy. So whoever gets that role between Roshan and Kyle Monungai will have a huge role on this team, Brandon.
Short yardage plays. You don't want a Kyle Monungai in on a 1st and 10 because once Kyle Monungai gets past somebody, he gets caught. I mean, Monungai's not the kind of guy.
Yeah, he does not have breakaway speed.
Get you big yard, big chunk plays and first downs on long downs. He's just not going to, if you find yourself in a 2nd and 15, Monungai is not going to serve you any purpose at all.
Nobody's arguing that, but can you acknowledge what I just said? That whoever earns that role, it will be a huge role for the Chicago Bears team in terms of their mentality, in terms of how they establish their offense in game to game.
I don't know how frequent it'll be. It'll be an important role.
I mean, hopefully it's frequent enough because if you got short yardage situations and goal to go situations, that means that your offense is moving the ball on the place.
And I want to say this, Dustin. I said this on Monday, and I'm going to stress this again, and I'm sure the chat's going to disagree with this, guys, but I can almost guarantee it.
I agree, Judd.
I don't like saying stuff like this, but I'm going to be right about this. DeAndre Swift is not going to lose the between the tackle carries. He's not. If this offensive line is able to produce the way I expect them to, the interior offensive line is good. If Joe
hugely improved
and Drew Dolman are up there making gaps, you still want DeAndre Swift on the field.
And when DeAndre Swift has a good offensive line in front of him, he's a good runner. He showed that in Philly. We went over this on our last show. If you can get him clean through that line of scrimmage, he's going to make some things happen. And if he gets into the open field, anything can happen. He can break a big one, even from running through the tackles, if you let him not get touched.
If the box ain't loaded.
Yeah. Well, even if it's loaded, if the offensive line clears a hole that he finds and hits, he's got the ability to break it from that spot as well.
And I want Swift to continue to be the patient guy that waits for that to develop, that hole. And I want Monungai or Roshan, whoever it is, to be the guy that just smacks it in the mouth. You know what I mean? The guy who just he's expecting to get hit early, but he still believes in his ability to get 2-3 yards out of a play, man. That's what I want. I just listen. Monungai to me, same as Roshan Johnson, is not a 3-down back, and he's not.
No,
when I say
he's not.
He's not a guy that you're gonna want on the field over DeAndre Swift unless it's necessary, like those short yard plays. That's where I see their role best served.
But as Oliver's saying here, it's about the role. It's not about him being the number one back. No one with any sense.
We're not arguing about anything, Oliver.
And no one with any sense is saying that Manungai is going to be the running back one for this team. And I do just want to say, because there was a but with that DeAndre Swift conversation running between the tackles, you have to understand that if there is a weakness in his game, that is it. That is where it is. And so a guy like Ben Johnson is going to try to, again, accentuate the strengths, minimize the weaknesses. That does open a role for either Roshan Johnson or Manungai to take that, Brandon. It does.
He's less talented at it. I don't know if I'd call it like
it's not even about talent to me. It's more about just the type of runner he is, Brandon. You want to get him to the edge.
If he's got blocking in front of him, I don't even find that to be a great weakness.
If anybody's got blocking in front of them, they're going to be solid.
He was still a 4.3 yards per carry guy on that Eagles team when he had blocking in front of him between the tackles.
But you want to take advantage of his biggest strengths, which is getting on the edge, Brandon. It is.
His greatest weakness is pass protection. That's his greatest weakness. The guy cannot stop me from trying to get to a quarterback.
Listen, let me say this, man. DeAndre Swift stuck his head in there a lot last year and doesn't get enough credit for it.
He gets run over.
But he gets in the way. He throws himself in there. It's not from a lack of trying. And he also made some really good blocks in pass protection. You know he did last year.
I think there was like one or two where I texted you guys, but I mean, I think the reason I was texting you is because it's just not something commonly occurred.
Yeah, but it's not. He's not as bad at it as people make him out to be. I don't.
He's just a little guy, man.
Yeah, which is again why you don't want to be running him in between the tackles.
No, and you don't want him in pass
because he can also get injured.
Yeah, defensive line could destroy that guy.
Yes, exactly. So that's why there will be a role, and it will be an important one for Manungai or Roshan Johnson. Man.
See, I don't agree with this. But running back by committee, I don't know how you define that, man. To running back by committee,
it's going to have to be, Brandon.
Split evenly between two backs, like the Montgomery, Gibbs. That was a by committee to me. DeAndre Swift is going to get 75% of the snaps on this football team.
No, that's more of a split back. A running back by committee is more like I don't have the 3-down guy that can do everything, as you said, Brandon, right? You said you don't have – get the fuck out of here. Fucking flies. Fucking summer window. But you don't have the guy that does it all. So you can't just count on him. So you have guys with very specific skill sets that can fill a role, and they need to come in situationally. That's what running back by committee is. So I think you're taking it for a meaning that it doesn't really have. It's not about split carries. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about there's a role for Roshan or Manungai, and there's a role for DeAndre, and those are two different things. And you're going to use those guys to their strengths in those situations.
All right, I'm saying it now, man. 75% of the carries, 75% of the snaps go to DeAndre Swift. I'm saying that right now. And I'm saying this as well, guys. And
75 seems a bit high. I mean, 65 to 70, but even again, it's not a bad thing if the guys that you're filling in with are actually doing their jobs and performing well, because DeAndre Swift getting rest and having the ability to be fresh when he comes out there to break the big one, that makes you better. It does.
I'm also going to say this. I think it will take time, even if Manungai is the guy eventually who plays that short down back. Roshan Johnson was efficient. He was 5 for 6 guys on first down carries on 1 yard to go. I mean, he did the job. He was, and he actually was a quality pass catcher for Caleb Williams as well. So Roshan Johnson hasn't shot himself in the
quality pass catcher. He caught a couple of passes. He's not a quality.
Yeah, he was open when he was throwing the. I think his catcher was his catcher was 98%. Man,
how many? He didn't have the ball thrown to him very often.
Yeah, which was on Caleb most of the time. Caleb didn't like that play. Caleb didn't like that check down play. We know that. That's going to change too.
I think that impacted DeAndre Swift a lot more than Roshan Johnson.
I'm going to say we're just going to split hairs on this for sure, and I'm probably going to split hairs with the chat. This is a 7th round pick who I think might end up being a 7th round pick.
Well, again,
Kyle Manungai is not a special player either.
Terrell Davis was a 6th round pick, Brandon.
Okay, but when Eric Bieniemy's telling
precedent for that.
We saw the OTA. When Eric Bieniemy's telling you look like an old ass man, that's what I saw too. I don't see Dustin. We're talking about
now you're conflating that and
no. I said this on last night's show as well.
Roshan Johnson doesn't mean that you're not.
Roshan Johnson looked much better in that drill than Kyle Manungai did. He did.
Listen, if you're talking about a coach trying to fire a guy up, trying to get in the guy's head and motivate them, That's different than him actually moving like an old ass man.
Outside of the falling
he's got to get
forward,
better, and that's him telling them to be better.
outside of the falling forward, what's his strength when you watch his tape?
Well, Oliver says here he thinks his strength is pass blocking. I don't know how much of a strength I would call it. He was solid at it, and he again kind of did the job as best he could. Like
and I don't know that that's going to work out anyways.
No, his strength is one cut through in between the tackles and breaking some tackles, falling forward for yardage. And there is a role for that in this offense if he can secure it. To do that, he just has to be better than Roschon Johnson. He does not have to be better than DeAndre Swift because they are going to fill two very different roles, Brandon. That is the point.
He has to be better than Roschon Johnson. I'm not sure that he is. I
don't know. We don't know yet either. As Razzle Dazzle would say, you got to see it on the field, right? We got to see.
If he was like a third-round pick, I would probably. And I don't even know.
Well, listen, man, you want to keep going back to the picks things. There's guys that are performing in this league that were not picked in the third round that are performing much better than that.
Those are called unicorns.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's
how many seventh-round running backs became really quality football players, Dustin?
Well, Brandon, I'm just saying that there's a precedent for it. I'm not going to go through and I don't have that information in front of me.
There's not many.
I'm not trying to make a segment out of it. I'm saying though that you can't just throw away the possibility.
See, I think
the odds are with you, so it's easy for you to say that.
Yeah, I also think razzle dazzle. I think the Kool-Aid's being drank on Kamanungai, man. I think it is. And I think
a seventh round pick, and he's a seventh round pick for a reason. But I've seen the tape, and I'm optimistic. That's what
I think. The fact that people say Manungai could play a role because
Jed coming in from the top rope,
because Roschon Johnson's not special, says enough about Kamanungai. It's not. Nobody ever says Kamanungai could be that guy because he's really fucking good. They only say Kamanungai could be the second back on his team because Roschon Johnson isn't very good.
That's what that's what I'm saying, Brandon. I'm not saying that I don't know who you're arguing with because I'm not saying that Kamanungai is that dude.
I'm debating my stand. Like this is why I don't think.
I feel like you're debating yourself.
I'm not excited about the impact that Kamanungai has on this football team.
Okay, and that's okay. But I'm saying there will be a role to be carved out, and one of those two guys has to earn it, and that is going to be interesting to see who does it.
Yeah,
that's really that's an important position on this team as far as I'm concerned. The power back, the tough yards guy is going to be a very important role on this team, and maybe that's where we're differing a little bit because you said I don't know how big of a role it's going to be. I think it's a huge role if you want to be a successful football team, especially in Chicago.
And in
you
that
need the guy that can get the power yards. So whoever earns that is going to have a big role.
In that role, Roschon Johnson was pretty successful.
For sure, but in limited opportunity. And he also averaged 2.3 yards per carry last year. So it's like there's question marks. And that's on Roschon to answer those questions. And if he can, I think he gets the first crack at the job, Brandon. I really do. So like if he can answer those questions, then he will be that guy. And that door will be closed on Manungai in that period of time. Have we seen Joe lose? It is. I believe that, and so I hope one of them earns it and establishes himself as that.
I hope Manungai is a good player, man.
The worst case scenario, Brandon, is that neither one of those guys impresses, and the Bears are still looking for that in the middle of this season or next season.
That's what I think is a very big possibility.
That's a possibility. That's an important way to word it. Yeah. And then Vizzo Joe comes in here with Hankins, also nice size and speed. JoJo Loco, have we seen JoJo before?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's possible, but you know what? We're gonna give it to him anyways. JoJo.
Thanks for joining us, JoJo. Please hit that like and subscribe. And if you've been here before, we apologize, man. A lot of names there.
No, that's a good thing that there's a lot of names. Thank you for being here. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. And Pacheco was a 7th round pick. That's the guy that's
coming. It's not showing me these chats for some reason. I'm like way behind on the chats.
Well, then you gotta maybe you're.
No, I know. I'm all the way at the bottom. It's just not. Well,
I got it, man. We're here.
Oh, yeah, keep reading them for me.
Pacheco was a 7th round pick. Yeah, that's the guy that comes to mind. Another guy from Rutgers. Razzle Dazzle says that's what it boils down to. The guy in Kansas City was a 7th round pick. Yep, that's Pacheco. Yep. I think that is what we end up with, to be honest. Still looking for the right running back. Jed jumping in with that. And That is the worst case scenario, guys. If neither one of these guys is
drafting a running back first round next season.
First, and obviously, even if one of those guys establishes himself, Brandon, you still might be needing to draft that running back in the first round because you want the guy that can do it all.
Yeah,
because
if you're potentially moving on from Swift, you're going
it's not about anything besides the fact that you don't want to be predictable to the defense. When we're talking about this running back by committee thing, and these guys have very specific roles that you know what they're good at, and that's why they're on the field, you become predictable. That's the biggest part here. And Ben Johnson wants to be predictable, the least of all things that he doesn't want to be. He does not want to be predictable. So when the defense can identify what you're going to do because you're looking at the strength of that running back that's on the field and why they're most likely on the field, you've now taken away an advantage from your offense and given it to the defense. So regardless of anything, even if one of these guys steps up into that role and performs well, you still want that guy that the defense doesn't know what you're going to do when they're on the field because they can fucking do everything. You still want that. You still need that.
And the dynamic that I like most, Dustin, I don't know what's going to take for the Bears to get this because they're ways away from it. But I like the 3 down back. Like, let's say you go get a running back in the first round next year. The 3 down back that can do it all. You know what I mean? The guy who can power up, he can burn by you, and the lightning behind him. I like the speedster behind him. I don't like.
I want to clarify something real quick.
The second role being the power back. I want the power back, that guy to be the guy, every down, 3 down, and I want the guy that comes in
to be the gadget guy, right?
Yeah, that's the dynamic that I want the Bears to eventually.
Well, there's different ways to skin that.
Oh, there's tons. Yeah, there's tons.
So I mean,
but like the Mostert a chain season where Mostert had 18 touchdowns and a chain was blowing up for 12 yards per run. That I like that dynamic.
And I wouldn't call Mostert a power back either. That's not what Mostert is.
He's also not a 3 down back. He was
a speedster. So I mean, like that's another example of a different way to go about it and have that dual running backfield. But ultimately, you just want to not.
I'm aware of.
Well, no, but he didn't lead the Big Ten 2 years straight in rushing. There was 1 year where he was second, I believe, and then the year where he had less yards last year is when he led the Big Ten in rushing. It was 1 out of 2 years where he led the Big Ten. So I just want to make sure we clarify that. And Razzle Dazzle says, I think they are looking for their bell cow back next year. I mean, that's kind of what we're saying here. Yeah.
And I do want to stress that's an achievement because it's
I was thinking we needed to be quick with this next round of guys that we're talking about. We've spent 30 minutes on Kyle Monungai's.
It's a running conference, so it's important. Like it's an accomplishment to be the number one.
It is
leading, but I mean, Quinshon Judkins there were so many better running backs than Kyle Monungai in the Big Ten, regardless of what he did.
And Quinshon Judkins got what hurt him is that he was sharing the backfield with another really good running back in Travion Henderson.
Both those guys were better than Kyle Monungai.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they were.
So it's impressive.
The Bears wanted either one of those guys over Kyle Monungai. It just didn't work out to where they could get.
As impressive as it is that he led the Big Ten, there's about 8 running backs in the Big Ten that were better than Kyle Monungai. Man, but I don't want to sound like I'm beating the hell out of this kid, man. I hope the best for him. I hope he's a stud. I hope that we're all shocked. I hope that you guys, Dustin, I hope he's that
best case scenario. He becomes the 3 down back for you.
I hope he's that guy we're talking about in 10 years from like, oh, remember, Monungai was a 7th round pick and he turned out to be
the probability of that is very low though. And we got to be honest about that. And I think Ben Johnson, least of all, wants to be predictable. When you're doing a running back by committee, it's very easy to become predictable and the defense knowing what you're going to do based on who you have in and what package. So the Bears want to avoid that at all costs. So we might be looking for our true, maybe we're drafting Love next year out of Notre Dame to get that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? But hopefully one of those guys establishes themselves between Roschon and Kyle Monungai. And if it's Monungai, then great. That was a hell of a 7th round pick. Right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So who's our next guy, Brennan?
Let's go. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball, man. Let's go to the guy who's probably gonna has the highest likelihood of becoming a day 1 starter on this football team. And well, I mean Loveland will because they like the 2 tight ends, but
Ozzie Trapillo.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ability to just steal the position entirely is Ozzie Trapillo. He's got the best chance on this football team as a rookie, and
the opportunity is in front of him for sure.
Yeah. And this one's confusing, Dustin. How to judge this guy's impact on this football team is going to be entirely on his training or his preseason, his
training
off-season.
camp, preseason. Yes, training camp, preseason. You cannot judge an offensive lineman when they're playing without pads. You can't judge a defensive lineman. You can't judge an offensive lineman without pads. You just can't do it. You don't really know.
You can't judge an offensive lineman if they're not given the starting role. I mean, if this guy's sitting on the bench because they think he's a player that needs time, there will be no impact here. But I can't say that Trapillo is a bad player because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, like we might not know who Trapillo is for a couple of years here, guys.
And then the thing of him being a right tackle throughout college and then coming into the NFL, being drafted by the Bears, and now they're saying we're going to put him at left where he hasn't played. But by all accounts, he's a smart dude. By all accounts, he's picking up what he needs to pick up from that left tackle spot. The difference is, again, to me, it comes down to when he gets pads on, is he that dude? Is he that beast? Is he that guy that can hold down that spot? The reality is, as we pointed out, that is wide open. If you are that dude, you will go earn that spot because Braxton Jones is very beatable and Karan Amagaji is in the same spot you are, basically starting fresh with a new coaching staff and having to earn it. So what I am confident in is that whichever of those three earns that spot will be the best man for the job. Ben Johnson will make sure of that. Does Ozzie Trapillo have a chance? Yes. Would I bet on that being the case once it's all said and done? Training, I mean, we're all high on Trapillo now because he's getting those opportunities, but that's because Braxton Jones isn't healthy, man. And the likelihood of Trapillo earning that spot is low, but if he does, he's going to be a stud. If he beats out Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji and gets that left tackle spot, I'll just say that. If that's what he does and he earns that spot, he will be damn good pretty early on. I have confidence in that.
I'm glad you said that, man, because my question to you was going to be a question I asked on
Wednesday.
He also got his rushes when the other team knew that they had.
No, yeah, you knew that he was the biggest part of their offense, so that is impressive as well. And against Big Ten defenses, that is impressive. Again, I'm not trying to discount, but what Brandon's saying is like he was a 7th round pick for a reason. He was a 7th round pick in a very deep running back class. So what was a 7th round pick in this draft class might have been a 4th or a 5th round pick in a previous draft class or in a future draft class. You're right, depending, because you're comparing him to some really good talent. But at the end of the day, he still was a 7th round pick. So I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket that the Bears got a stud. I hope they did. I mean, we're moving on to Ozzie Trapillo at this point. Kyle Monangai was a great value pick for the Bears where they got him, and I hope he establishes himself as that number 2 running back for the Bears because he's not going to establish himself as better as DeAndre, and I think the door is wide open for him to establish himself as better than Roschon. Just like MTV Cribs, there's nothing to see without the pads. Jed?
Well said. What I want to ask you, man, because I asked it to these guys last night, and I think we got cut off by some. So neither one of them answered. If Ozzie Trapillo wins this starting job, Dustin, I think you kind of just answered it for me, but I'll ask you: Is it the best of the worst, or is he a stud that won this position? You know what I mean?
I mean, you could look at it either way, but I would say that if he does earn that spot,
he's a rookie. That means
maybe he's
really well.
As a rookie left tackle in the NFL, you're going to have bad games. You're going to have bad moments. You're going to get beaten, and you're going to have to learn from that. And it sucks that we're going to have to deal. If that were to be the case, we'll have to deal with that with Caleb Williams back there, and that's our biggest asset and the guy we need to keep clean to be able to win football games. But if Ozzie Trapillo earns that spot, that says really good things about him, not just for this season, but especially for the future, because he will only get better. Think about the fact that in one offseason, you go from college to the pros, you transition from right tackle to left tackle. You beat out a guy who's been starting at left tackle for multiple years. You beat out a guy who was drafted to be a left tackle last year in the 3rd round. That's impressive. That means that you're doing your job really well.
To be the starter right now.
Yeah, the odds are the highest stacked against Ozzie Trapillo to be the starting left tackle for the Bears to start.
The rookie right tackle has the worst odds.
Yes. So if he earns that, then he busted his ass and he's doing his job really well. And just imagine the ceiling there because it will only get better. He's not going to regress. He's just now picking it up and learning it. He's going to continue to get better. That's the best case scenario for Trapillo and the Bears.
What really excites me about Trapillo, man, is Dan Roshar's been doing this for 40 years. I mean, the guy has made, and I did a show, guys. Me and Sean did a show. Go check it out. It was maybe a month ago, about why I love this coaching staff. And I went through a lot of their history, and Dan Roshar has made a lot of mid-round draft picks into Pro Bowl caliber players, really quality football players, and at this offensive line, at the offensive line position. And this guy is huge, Dustin. He's huge.
Yeah, he is.
So if Dan Roshar can give this guy the technique, the fundamentals to be a quality left tackle in the NFL with his size, he's got the potential to be really special. Because I mean, the guy's he's like 6'7". The guy's like a fucking animal, man.
Yeah, he's
So
6'8", actually, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just tremendous. I mean, this guy's a brick wall.
I mean, you see the picture of him standing next to fucking Joe Tooney. It's like he's making him look.
Did you see the picture of them at the Cubs game? They're all
he makes
all the rookies.
Everyone look small.
It's like a bunch of children.
And he's starting to grow out the beard so he doesn't look like a giant baby Huey. That's a good move by him. Very smart. Shows me intelligence. You're growing out the beard. It tells me you got something going on up here.
So Tooney's influencing. Yeah.
Listen, Oliver says, I'm scared he won't be able to start training camp on time because he's not signed. I don't think that should be a fear. The deal will get done. I have no concerns about that at all. I don't think anybody should. He's not going to hold out. The Bears are going to have him on the field. And Foster says, Ozzy's going to be our left tackle this season. When? Not sure, but it will happen. Again, if he earns it from the jump, that's the best case scenario because he's only going to get better. And that means that he's doing it pretty damn well to beat out an incumbent starter at left tackle. I mean, he got the injury with Braxton, so he's at a disadvantage there. But I think the Bears, if they could have their preference, they would like to have Braxton Jones play as well as possible and earn that spot.
Let me ask you, Foster, do you think, when you said that, do you think that's a result of injury? Because if he just at some point becomes left tackle because of production, I hope that he's just the left tackle week one. I mean, if it's some juncture of the season, the Bears think this guy's better than the guys we have, I hope that's week one. Because you're not going to see that sitting on the bench.
He earns it outright. That's the best case scenario. If he gets thrown into it, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on him. It's going to be tough on Caleb, for sure. If he earns it outright, that means that he's doing it well. That means that Ben Johnson and the Bears coaching staff have identified the fact that he is performing better than every other option.
Once again, he's made himself undeniable.
Yeah.
He's said to the coaches, you can't take me off the football field.
And Foster says,
I'm doing this too well.
Yeah.
You can't take me off the football.
Foster says this, forgot who said it, but it's true. His college tape is boring. Go look at it. For Ozzy, that's a good thing for an offensive lineman. If your college tape is boring, then
I think that's what Foster's saying.
That's a really good thing. That's a good thing. That means that you're doing your job.
And I just want to say this because I have heard now a pretty big majority of the Bears fan base. I have heard them say this guy was a right tackle. Why we take a left tackle? He's a right tackle. Well, we actually had some fans on a short we made where Sean was discussing whether or not Trapillo had said
he didn't want to play. He didn't want to move
play right tackle. But some fans who seemed like they were fans of, was it Boston College? Where did he play?
Yeah, Boston College.
Yeah, some fans of Boston College.
Ryan Poles is
They had a lot of insight on Boston College, the guys who made these comments, but they said
it was Ryan Poles.
The line had gotten so bad at Boston College on the right side. The two best players on the football team were playing left guard and left tackle, so they had to move Trapillo over to right because the right was a disaster. That's what I read.
He did play some left tackle, but I believe the last 2 years in college he was at right tackle because of that very reason that they needed to solidify at least one side of their
disadvantage on the right side of the line.
Best case scenario, Ozzy Trapillo earns that. That's the best case scenario for all of us. Ozzy Trapillo just straight out beats Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji for that left tackle spot to start the season. That is the best case scenario. If you're a Bears fan, you should feel pretty good about that. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. This is obviously the biggest, most important position battle for the Bears this offseason, and it remains to be seen who's going to win this job. But I really do hope Ozzy Trapillo wins it outright, Brent. That's what I hope. If I had to bet on it, I would say Braxton Jones is going to be your starting left tackle.
Well, I hope, and Kyle's got a point, man, stating what a pick this would be if this guy ends up being a quality left tackle.
Yeah, Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
It would be the best pick of this draft.
Yeah,
because it's the second most important position on your offense behind the guy that you already got solidified.
Behind the guy that he needs to be protecting. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And what a pick it would be also because this draft class wasn't really touted for left tackle talent.
And to identify that and find it in a guy who was
Yeah.
playing right tackle,
when
that's
you when you
impressive.
have when you have these Will Campbells and Calvin Banks and
Armand Membu,
yeah, these guys where other teams
Josh
like, is
Simmons,
he a right tackle? Is he a guard? And then Ryan Poles comes in and swoops the quality starting left tackle in the second round. Yeah,
Ryan Poles is hoping like hell that's what happens. I mean, that would be a hell of a pick.
The guy that I think stands the best chance, Dustin, is who's the player the Chiefs took?
Josh Simmons. I just brought his name up. Yeah.
Well, and then it's not Josh. Josh Simmons is not.
Josh Simmons is the Chiefs.
Connerly is the guy.
Josh Connerly got drafted by not the Chiefs. They took Josh Simmons. Connerly got drafted before Simmons. Who
you did? You're right. Yeah.
Who took him? I'm blanking on that.
Drafted in like the early 20s, wasn't he?
Yeah. Was it
Connerly is the guy that I have the most faith in being a quality left tackle in the NFL, but I'm hoping Trapillo can prove me wrong about that, man. I think Connerly might be the best left tackle out of this draft class, and he was taken.
Oh yeah, the Commanders. He got drafted by the Commanders.
I think he might be the best left tackle in this draft class, but I'm hoping Trapillo proves me wrong.
Yep, the Commanders got better on their offensive line with that pick for sure. I liked Connerly a lot. But again, if Trapillo can stand out at that left tackle spot, then that's the best case scenario for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. So I think that's his ceiling, and then his floor this season is, he's your backup swing, he's your swing tackle basically, and he'll end up being in there because Braxton Jones will inevitably get hurt, right?
Yeah, probably
that's the worst.
Probably and that ankle, man.
Yep, and then that's worse for Trapillo in his development because he's being thrown into it like Karan was last year, Yeah. But what if Karan jumps out?
Yeah, Foster, he did play some left tackle in college, but
he played more snaps at right tackle in college than he did at left tackle. He did.
He played the same amount of games at both positions, more snaps.
Yeah, it was a pretty even split. But more recently, it was right tackle. JoJo says, with our roster loaded at almost every position, why are we not mentioned as one of the best teams in the NFL? Because we're the Bears and we always win the offseason and we never win games in the regular season.
Because
you gotta earn that. You gotta earn it.
It's just a lot of new. It's a whole lot of new. It's all new pieces,
which doesn't always mean win. It doesn't always mean you win.
I'm with you, JoJo. I've been the guy who's kind of saying like, why can't this team be better early? You know what I mean? Why is there? Everybody keeps saying like, they're still a year away from and I'm not talking about a year away from a playoff team. It takes time with a new head coach. If you got the right head coach, man, and you got the right quarterback, you don't know. We don't know when the hell this thing could get right.
The biggest reason, Brandon and JoJo, is because of this fucking schedule. This schedule is daunting as all hell. But if you're going to be that team that is competitive, what better way to prove it than by beating teams that are really good on your schedule?
And if Ben Johnson's going to be the future Hall of Fame head coach and Caleb Williams is the first elite franchise quarterback in this city, we'd like to see that start now.
Yep. No better time than the present.
Yeah.
Want to do Luke Newman while we're talking offensive line?
Yeah, actually I do, because I think Luke Newman's going to be a huge role here, man, because the potential for Drew Dahlman to miss some games is not unlikely, right? I mean, he's done this throughout.
Not just Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson as well, because Luke Newman
but I think
played guard in college. He can play center. And the Bears mentioned that, right? That was mentioned when he was drafted by the Bears. Like, they liked his snaps at center an awful lot. But now you got this guy who can do either one, and you got high potential of him having to do that, whether it be Jonah Jackson that goes down or Drew Dahlman. And I think if he comes in, Brandon, and gets thrown into it, I think it's a lot easier to play guard right away in the NFL than it is left tackle for Ozzie Trapillo. And I think Luke Newman can be serviceable and pretty solid right off the bat.
I think Luke Newman's a good football player, man.
I think so too.
I think if he plays that right guard position next to Darnell Wright, because God forbid Jonah Jackson goes down or just isn't good enough, guys, there's potential for that too. There's potential for Jonah Jackson to just not be the guy he was when he played this position primarily a couple of years ago under Ben Johnson. there is potential for Jonah Jackson to show that he's a replacement level player, the same as Cole Kmet, which is who we just talked about. I think Luke Newman's is going to be a stud in the NFL, man. And I don't know. I can't tell you it's week 1, Dustin. I can't put a timeline on it, but I think this guy's a stud in the NFL.
You're gonna go farther than I am for sure. A stud. I mean, listen, I love when you draft a late round interior offensive lineman out of the Big Ten, and his stats in his last year in Michigan State were amazing. Didn't allow a sack. I mean, the guy just didn't really allow pressure on his quarterback. Damn good grades across the board, and I think he will transition very well to the NFL. I think best case scenario for him is
fundamentals too, man.
Yeah. And again, if you plug him in, not just next to Darnell Wright, but between Darnell Wright and Drew Dahlman, you're making life pretty easy on him. Pretty fucking easy on him. So he should be able to excel. And he has the skill set and the size and the mentality to establish himself as a solid starter in the NFL pretty early on. And I think the probability, again, is high that he will have to play some games this season. And I actually feel pretty comfortable in that. That's why I feel comfortable with the depth of this offensive line more so than others, because I have such high thoughts and high hopes for Luke Newman, man.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Dustin. When people keep telling me about how the depth just wasn't addressed, I have to disagree.
I do too.
I think this guy can play 3 positions, right, Dustin? I mean, he can play both guards. He can back up Joe Tooney. He can back up Drew Dahlman, because the Bears said they loved the snaps he took at center. That's where he impressed the most. That's actually what the head of scouting said. And then we know he can play the right guard position. That's where he played college in Michigan State. So I think he got tremendously better at depth, adding a player who I think will be quality in 3 different roles on that line, man. I think you got tremendously better depth.
I think that's huge, where if you have any one of those positions go down, if you have one guy that you feel comfortable plugging them in any spot along that interior line, that puts you at a huge advantage, where it doesn't have to be Kramer, or it doesn't have to be Bates. Bill Murray or Bates. But I mean, at the end of the day, we just mentioned some depth there that we didn't have last year, in terms of Bill Murray feeling pretty confident in him based on what we saw him do in a starting role last year. And Bates, who was the plan was for him to be your starting center and ended up having to start at guard and all these things as your backup guard, which is what he is in the NFL. And you don't expect anything more of him than that. That automatically there just increases your depth. Guys that were starters last year are depth this year. And I think Luke Newman has the chance and ability to establish himself as the best of that bunch. I do.
Yeah. And I'll say this I'm not making excuses, man, but the one guy that Ryan Bates was a part of an interior offensive line when he was forced into playing at the guard position, along with Nate Davis and Coleman Shelton. There might be more to Ryan Bates as a backup guard than we think. He might be a better backup than we give him credit for, because he actually played quality football as a backup on the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and the thing about being a quality backup is you don't know until you're starting if they're a quality backup. So that's when it matters.
But the guys, I think the biggest impact on a backup football player, man, Dustin, especially on a unit, might be the guys around you.
Yeah.
So maybe Ryan Bates
certainly improved that.
Yeah, maybe Ryan Bates is good enough to hold it down if Drew Dahlman
for a game or two,
Joe Tooney are there.
If you're between Dahlman and Wright, versus between Wright and Coleman Shelton. Who everybody wants to continue to tell me was way better than I realized last year.
When did PFF become more important than what you're visibly
what you're seeing in front of you?
I don't understand when that happened, but it happened. At some juncture in the NFL analyst world.
Yeah, I've never bought into it. It's been some years now that's been the case. I remember JJ Watt lamenting that some time ago. Yeah.
Let's jump to the defensive side of the ball. Let's start with a guy who I think will go quickly, man. Let's start with Ruben Hipley, because I just don't think you're going to see too much of Ruben Hipley, man. I think Dennis Allen drafted him for very, 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 very definitive role. And it's going to be a small one. And I think a guy who presents one strength and his speed, because he wasn't really good at anything. I mean, he's a solid tackler. That was said about him as well.
Yeah.
He's not good at rushing the quarterback. He's not good in pass coverage. This guy's not going to be doing a whole lot of things outside of just running and stopping running. So
special teams, he could be a good gunner on special teams.
He could.
Potentially, right?
Yeah, Richard Hightower's probably pretty happy about that pick. But And as regards to this impact he makes on the defense, Dustin, I don't think it'll be more than Jack Sanborn or less. You know what I mean?
I don't think the third linebacker, the Sam Lamb linebacker on this defense, is going to have that big of a role in general throughout the season, no matter who it ends up being, whether it's Hippolyte or Sewell or however they end up determining this. But I think it will be important when they are on the field in terms of, like you said, stopping the run, in terms of being strong in that front seven against the run. So I hope that one of these guys establishes themselves, if it's Hippolyte or whoever it is. But why couldn't you use him if with his speed and his size? Why is there not a world where Dennis Allen uses him in some blitz packages? How does that intrigue you at all?
It does to me. Listen, I said to Sean on a episode that he was in for you, man. I said to him, with a guy who's running a 4.39 at this position, I would have him going after the quarterback at all times. I think that would be the role.
Some exotic blitz packages,
But you look back at his collegiate career, guys, and over five full college seasons. The guy's 25 years old. 5 full college seasons.
I thought he was 24.
I'm sorry, he'll be 25 by the time the Bears season starts. But 5 full seasons, 1 sack, no interceptions. I mean, it's frightening, man.
The one thing about NFL talent evaluators is that they should be looking for traits that they can translate to the NFL, and that doesn't always mean that like what you were asked to do in college will be the same as what you were asked to do in the NFL.
He was a middle linebacker. They don't blitz a whole lot.
Yeah,
they don't get a whole lot of sacks.
You would hope that there's some kind of plan here for why they felt the need to take this guy as high as they did, and maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm speculating here.
Let's talk about what Foster has here. Could Hippo be a safety?
No, not to me. No,
he's a small linebacker, but that's a big safety, man.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question for me. And Foster said that earlier in the chat.
Foster, he had no interceptions.
He sees him being a safety.
I think he had no interceptions and like single-digit passes deflected.
I mean, when you're talking about pass coverage,
his grade was terrible.
Yeah, like that's a big problem at safety. I need a guy that can actually, stick in coverage if I'm going to put him at safety. And I think you're putting him in a very tough position. And I'm seeing he's at 23 years old here. So he's going to be 24. He's 23 years old, man. 5'11", 240 pounds. So he doesn't have the height that I would want at safety. And he's way too big to play safety. So I'm going to say a definitive no on that, Foster. I don't see it at all. I don't see that happening. I think the best case scenario is that he established himself as that Sam linebacker. And as JoJo's pointing out here, he could be one injury away from being an everyday starter. So you're hoping that the Bears found a diamond in the rough here. It felt like an extreme reach when it happened, but there is a possibility that this guy plays a bigger role than we're giving it credit for when the season happens if injuries do occur.
His pass coverage rating was a 62%, and his pass rush grade and by Draft Buzz was a 67%.
That's funny. We say when did PFF become? Now we're just throw out some grades.
I like Draft Buzz though, man. I do. I like Draft.
It's the same shit though, is all I'm saying. Like it's a grade, an arbitrary grade given based on some stuff that they've decided matters. But at the end,
the PFF stuff, man, gets super analytical.
At
it
all
meticulous.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I would just hope that Dennis Allen has a very good vision for what those traits can turn into in the NFL. And if it were me, I'd be thinking of how I can get this guy in on some exotic blitz packages and really stress the offense out. That's what I'd be thinking about. And then, when they're running a true base 4-3, Ruben Hippolyte could be that guy. It's possible he doesn't earn that job though too, but he could be that guy. I don't know yet. He's the toughest one to project for me. But again, these rookies that these Bears have drafted have these opportunities clearly laid out in front of them. They do. They all do.
His solo tackles his last year of college, 33. I just don't know what this guy was doing.
And you're talking about in the Big Ten, where, as we've pointed out already, a lot of running of the football. And if you're a middle linebacker dealing with, so like, was he used in package? I'm not going to sit here and pretend I watched a bunch of fucking Ruben Hippolyte tape. I had no idea who he was when the Bears drafted him. That's what makes this conversation.
Maryland. If you don't live in Maryland, who's watching Maryland play football?
Even if you do live in Maryland, I mean, but that's what makes this conversation so hard is I really have no idea. But I think there has to be something that Dennis Allen sees that he can use in very specific situations that will that Hippolyte will stand out in. That's the only thing I could say.
Yeah, and it's frightening, JoJo. You say he's one injury away from being an everyday starter. That's frightening. That's scary. Because that's how thin you are. Yeah,
it's such a big and it's such a big unknown.
And I did say this last night. I don't see a rookie jumping over Amon Ogbongbemija. I don't see him. I think that's your starter if one of these guys goes down. I think Amon Ogbongbemija is your starter in place of an injury, and then probably Noah Sewell before you go to Ruben Hippolyte.
Okay, so but I mean, the Sam spot is there for the taking if Ruben Hippolyte wants to go earn that. And there's one thing that you cannot count against. The one thing that you cannot say he hasn't done is been doubted, and he goes out and proves people wrong and earns that spot. So I mean, that seems to be a strength of him and a defining part of his career up to this point. They did say, so don't count him out in that regard.
They did say he's got a lot of leadership quality as for a young rookie player, man. I'm talking about in camp on this Bears team. He's already shown a lot of leadership potential that was said about him as well. That makes a difference to me.
And it's tough.
I mean, the guy looks like he's 48 years old, so he should be a leader, man.
He's not going to be a safety though, Foster. I don't think.
It looks like Terry Stevenson's dad.
Foster's not. Foster's going to miss.
All right, next man.
Hold on, Brandon. Foster's.
Dustin.
Am I losing you or are you losing me? I don't know, but I'm here, Brandon. You there?
I'm losing you.
Chat, jump in and tell us. I see myself too, Brandon. I'm not sure what's going on, but Foster's just pointing out that we might end up missing Sanborn. It's tough to go back and in retrospect and say like we could have signed him and kept him. I mean, obviously it would make this conversation a lot easier, but the Bears moved on, and hopefully Sanborn does well there, and hopefully Hippolyte is what they drafted him to be, whatever that is. We're gonna have to find out.
All right, man. Shamar Turner, Zay Frazier. I mean, Zay Frazier, I don't know. I mean, unless there's an injury, I don't see a major impact from Zay Frazier. I think it will require injury for him to. But this is a pretty solid secondary. I don't think you need to be plugging in any rookies on this team. Unless there's an injury, I don't see him getting a whole lot of time here.
I mean, the conversation that you have about Luther Burden having to earn that opportunity in a really, really strong receiver room, that conversation is tenfold here with Zay Frazier in terms of who he has in front of him and what would have to happen for him to get actual legitimate playing time. And it would be injuries, or it would be that he just blows people away in practice consistently. Or really poor performance from Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith in front of him.
And I hate to say this, but he was asked after rookie minicamp, why did you get the least opportunity of all the rookies to play in minicamps? So, I mean, as far as I read, he didn't even play too much with the Bears in practice. He said this. It wasn't for lack of being a good player. It wasn't for lack of being a premier draft talent. That's what he said. So he's the one who actually organized the DBs meet in the hotel room and go over the film.
Been a great teammate. He's been a great teammate already up to this point.
He was not playing too much football at their mini camps. So like that, I'm curious about that, man, to be honest with you. But
well, here you go. A door can open here, as Foster points out. If Brisker gets hurt again, which that seems like the highest probability, right, in terms of this secondary. Now, if it were me, I'm putting Kyler Gordon in that spot, which opens up the nickel spot, which I might throw Tyreek Stevenson in, and then like it's between Terrell Smith and Zay Frazier on who's that outside cornerback. Zay Frazier has the skills, he has the talent, he has the size, he has the ball hawking ability. I think if he gets thrown into it, he'll actually impress. I think he's going to surprise some people if he gets the opportunity. It's just
I'm,
that opportunity. There's so many things that need to happen for him to get that, man. It's tough
listen,
to see that path.
The one thing I want to say, Dustin, that I'm fully supportive of what you just said. Like, if Joe Kornbrisker goes down, I don't want to see Hicks or Owens. I really don't.
No.
If you got to take Kyler Gordon and move him out of his traditional position, I'm fully supportive of that. If especially
that
if
would be the
means,
best option.
that just means Kyler Gordon's now on the field every single play. Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't want to see those two guys, man. And no offense to them. It's good that they've been in they've had to play starting in the starting role before, so it's good to have those guys as depth guys that have had to start in their careers. But it wasn't good, man. It wasn't good enough for me.
There's a lot of dominoes that need to fall in front of Zay Frazier for that opportunity. Even if he's kicking ass in practice, I mean, you got to get a certain amount of reps in practice, as you were just saying. Like, that's going to be tough for him to get just to even stand out with the amount of depth and talent that there is in this defensive backfield for the Chicago Bears. There's a lot of things that need to happen in front of that for him to even get that opportunity. So the likelihood of him making an impact this season is low, but I think the likelihood of him, if he gets thrown into a position like that, of him performing much better than expectations, is high. I have a lot of love for this kid, and I think he's going to be a pretty damn good cornerback in the
Harris
NFL.
did too.
Yeah, whatever role he has. And Oliver, man, let's answer this question because we haven't gotten one from the chat in a while. Hey guys, am I doing too much to be excited about this team like I am every offseason? What do you think?
Well, I think, Oliver, I'll say this. I am usually not. Nor is Dustin. I mean, we're just not too good. I usually see through it, man. I usually see through the reports that the Bears writers try to church up to all of us guys. Oh, this guy looks great and that guy looks amazing and this looks and this, it's always, and then Matt Eberflus got a haircut and grew a beard, and we were supposed to believe this guy was some potential future Hall of Fame coach. The culture is changing to me, Oliver, and I think that's something that should give you a little more encouragement and a little more reason to be excited. Is the culture is shifting.
But that's a long play. That's a long play, though, Brandon. I don't know that that's like immediate. You know,
but I think the culture needs to be established by week
one. And that's gonna be tough, man. And what I will say is that takes time. That could take a year. That could take 2 years. We don't know. As I've said before, you're laying the foundation. That's what Ben Johnson is doing right now. And hopefully by the end of the season, you built half a house. I mean, that would be great, honestly, because the amount of ass backwards bullshit that's happened in Chicago with these Bears teams and the management and ownership, the amount that's happened over these last years is just, it's a lot. And that's a lot to have to turn around. So all I'm saying is, it's okay to be excited about what you just said, Brandon.
Yeah, be excited, Oliver.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're playoffs this season, especially with this schedule we have. They'll do it the right way.
Have realistic expectations, but be excited, man. That's what I would say to you.
For sure.
Excited as you want to be.
Yeah, but like again, it could take some time, and that's okay. That's okay. I know we want immediate results, and we deserve it as Chicago Bears fans who've been put through hell recently. But if we're going to do it the right way, let's do it the right way and trust that process. And that process could take some time.
Jojo says he can get a chance. It's talking about Zay Frazier if we trade Stevenson. They're not trading.
I hope we don't do that at all.
They're not trading because Jalen Johnson got one of the best contracts in football, guys. He should have been paid substantially more than he was. And Tyreek Stevenson, I don't think anybody's going to be clawing for Tyreek. Tyreek Stevenson's got to prove that he can adjust that attitude before teams are reaching out about. I mean, we just watched Jair Alexander get cut. I could see that being a likelihood before a trade, man. I mean, honestly, so I don't think either one of those guys gets traded. Dustin, last guy, Shamar Turner. It's the last draft pick.
I expect this guy to be an integral part of the defensive line rotation this season. I really do. You draft a defensive tackle like him in the second round, then you better expect him to make an impact. I said the same thing when Javon Dexter got drafted, and I was being told you got to give him time, and they're not going to. And they weren't using him to start that season, and they needed to in that fucked up his development a little bit as far as I'm concerned. Javon Dexter, towards the end of that rookie season, started getting a lot more playing time, and you saw what he was capable of. And I think he needed to be doing that from the very beginning. And I think Shamar Turner is a guy that you drafted to be a key part of your defensive line rotation, and I expect him to perform pretty well. I really do.
I think
he's
that
got the mentality and the physical ability and the size.
When he plays, he'll play well. Shamar Turner's a good football player. I think he's going to be a good football player on this Bears team. He's going to be a good football player for a long time. I think if that injury, as long as he's able to, if that doesn't muster up some missed NFL games, because like as far as I was reading, man, the injury wasn't as bad as you know the average NFL injury or the average football injury, but the surgery was horribly botched. I don't know if you've read this, Dustin.
Yeah.
I mean, some malpractice really is what I've read. Is this guy was basically told after the surgery that wasn't done properly, that's never going to heal. So like, as long as that doesn't draw this guy away from the field and he's able to play through it, because that's basically what I read is he's going to have to just endure some pain. As long as he's able to do that, I think this guy's going to be a very impactful player in the football field for sure. And I think he's a guy that can be moved around. Dennis Allen loves these guys, man. Dennis Allen loves the guys that can go over here and then move over there, and like you're doing the same thing on defense than you are on offense. Make different
versatile.
Things, make things look different, and different things look the same. I mean, you want this guy to run. What's it called? The stunts, getting outside after the snap, man. I mean, I think that Shamar Turner has a lot of capabilities when it comes to what he provides to a football team for sure.
Stunts and twists for sure. I mean, and JoJo says he's at best fourth on the depth chart. Nobody's saying he's not. I mean, yeah, that makes total sense. Javon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Grady Jarrett, and Shamar Turner, and that should be your 4-man rotation that is basically getting the bulk of the defensive tackle snaps. And as you said, you can kind of move him around either way, and you could move Javon Dexter to nose if you want and put him next to Grady Jarrett or put him next to Shamar Turner at that 3 technique. I don't know that we're going to see this guy getting a lot of sacks. Well, maybe some decent pressure and definitely being a key contributor and stopping the run, but I think it will be important for this defensive line rotation. And I think the Bears drafted him thinking that he's going to get some solid playing time this season, man.
Yeah, and I think this pick was important to me, Dustin, because you lost both Dexter and Billings at some point in the season last year. There's a very good chance Shamar Turner's going to be playing a lot of football, more than he anticipates, more than the Bears anticipate. And I think he's more than depth.
Yeah, and I think he's better than Chris Williams. I think he's better than Chris Williams.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that could be a potential starter at some point in his career in the NFL. And maybe not as a rookie, but I think you have more than depth here. I think you have a future asset for sure.
And the thing that we didn't mention is the fact that Shamar Turner gets to play with Andrew Billings and Grady Jarrett, who are 2 veterans that have been in this league and can really help him fast track his development along with Bill Johnson. And Javon Dexter stepping up and becoming a leader in this offseason, which is going to be great for his development and production on the field, I believe. And so is Grady Jarrett and Andrew Billings. I really like the situation they have at the defensive tackle spot this year, and I think that's going to be the strength of this defensive line. Shamar Turner is going to be a part of that. He is.
Yeah, and like you said, Bill Johnson and Jeremy Garrett, 2 really quality coaches with a lot of experience, guys, and making players better at this position. So, yeah. Any more about the rookies, Dustin, and their potential impact? I think we've.
No, I mean, no, that's everybody. We just went through everybody, right?
Yeah,
Pickens, I mean, and
Pickens won't be on this roster.
Yeah, Pickens should not be on this roster. I didn't like the pick when they made it, and he just has not impressed in any way. So yeah, he needs to go.
All right, Dustin, let's try this again. We did it last week, guys. Actually, we had a lot of feedback.
What do you mean, last week. Try? Last week we did awesome with the weekly. A lot of people tuned in and had a lot to say about it. Yeah, it's getting late. Let's get it done and get it out of here.
What the fuck of the week, guys, and a story.
Weekly what the fuck? I want to call it the weekly what the fuck, not the what the fuck. I thought
that's what I said last week, and you switched it.
No,
because I thought weekly what the fuck sounded better for sure.
That's because it was my idea. That's why it sounded because that was my idea.
Well, I don't love either, but well, anyways, guys. But Dustin, you told me that it'd been widely rumored that the Bulls are behind the scenes right now working out another extension with head coach Billy Donovan.
Yep.
This I mean, could it get any more what the fuck?
I mean, what the fuck, Bulls? Yeah, and that I just feel like that's been the sentiment towards the Bulls for some time now. And I mean, the Knicks came sniffing around Billy Donovan because of they fired Tom Thibodeau and they're looking for a replacement, and they're just asking every NBA team basically, can we have your coach? And that has apparently prompted the Bulls to start talking to Donovan about extending him again so they don't lose him. And it's like, what have you gotten out of this guy in this
Mediocrity.
in this period of time to where you would be that afraid of losing him? Like, why you just extended him in a very secretive way just a couple of years ago,
Yeah, you were
and
too ashamed to admit it.
didn't announce it for until months after it actually happened. And they don't have to, so that is what it is, I guess. But I don't see what Billy Donovan is getting you. I don't see what AK is getting you or Mark Eversley's getting you. And I don't think you should let them pick who your next head coach is, whether it's Billy Donovan or somebody else. I don't think that I don't trust them to do it. And certainly if we're just going to keep running back with the same routine running on the same hamster wheel, going nowhere, that's just a giant what the fuck to me. And if the Knicks want Billy Donovan, let them have him. And shit, try to trade him. Get what you can. Honestly, like I don't want any part of a Billy Donovan extension. And when I read that, I texted you immediately, and I was very disappointed by that. And it was a big what the fuck.
This feels very much the same to me as the Matty Raflus, the retaining Matty Raflus guys. This is a continuity in what?
Worse than that. It's worse than that.
Continuity in what? In losing.
Mm-hmm.
Continuity and mediocrity.
Continuity losing in a play-in game. That's what,
purgatory. There's nothing happening here. I would rather see a coach fall flat on his fucking face, Dustin, and lose and gain some draft capital. I would rather see that. I'd rather see a guy who just sucks at coaching this team than a guy who manages to hover around 500 every year. He is literally
stuck in purgatory.
In 5 seasons, he's 10 games under 500 as his overall record. You're not moving forward, but most especially, you're not moving back. This is a terrible decision. And like there's no rush here to do this. There should be no pressure here. Why are you allowing this to dictate anything?
He doesn't have any leverage.
No,
because he hasn't earned any. And when they made the hire, it was like, okay, it's a solid hire. There could have been a better hire probably, but it was a solid hire. This guy's a good bridge guy. He'll help develop the young players and get you to where you need
this bridge.
Get you just far enough to where you then go hire the coach that'll get you over the top. That's what it felt like from the beginning. But everything's gone so terribly bad since then. You're not even going to get. You're not crossing that bridge. You've fallen into the water. So why would you now keep this guy and extend him? You can say that he hasn't been given the talent to really work with, but at the end of the day, the results are the results. His record is his record, and I don't see what the impetus is to keep him. Why you feel so like you so desperately need to extend him again? It makes no sense.
And unfortunately,
it's 2 a.m. Foster.
Unfortunately, this is a foreshadow, almost an implication that the Bulls have no intention of change.
Yep.
It's not change.
More of the same. More of the same.
In regards to the roster and the coaching staff, you need change. I think you need change in the front office, but if these guys are sticking around, then you need change from them.
Yeah.
And this is not the way to approach it, guys. It's not the way to approach it.
Like you said, go get a young head coach. Get them with the young players and let them develop together. And maybe you find a hidden gem at the coaching position. You know what you have in Billy Donovan, and you know that it's not good enough. So why would you want to keep repeating that same cycle? It's bad management. And like you said, you're going to stay stuck in the middle where you can't improve your team really. And you just continue to do the same thing over and over again. And that's not okay. It's not, you're not going to get anywhere.
His inability to improve, to develop the defensive side of his young talent. These guys don't play defense, man. Billy Donovan just abandons the idea of defense. I mean, this team allows one of the highest 3-point percentages in the NBA.
That's the worst. Their closeout on threes is just abysmal. Abysmal.
It's time to move on from this guy. Kobe White put in a lot of hard work himself, man. I don't credit the development of any of this young talent to Billy Donovan. I don't, man. There's nothing he's doing well. not providing any aspect. He's Dustin. He's not even being the bridge quarterback or the bridge coach, because the bridge coach is the guy. It's like, hey, he's not going to win you a championship, but when you're drafting these young guys who might eventually win you a championship,
let's get them some playing time and figure out who they are.
He's making them better day by day. I don't see that either. Me and you were excited about Julian Phillips. I don't even know if that guy's going to be on an NBA roster soon. Like, I don't want Donovan around here anymore, man. He's not helping anyone. And
honestly, the entire thing needs to be blown up. My biggest concern is that I don't want AK and Eversley to keep making decisions for the future of this team.
No, fire them first and foremost,
because they're doing it out of desperation, because they know the clock is ticking on their regime, and they will mortgage off the future to try to just be decent enough now to justify the things that they've done up to this point and to keep their jobs. And they will put this team in a much bigger hole than it already is in. We saw Ryan Pace do this with the Chicago Bears, and that was a huge mistake by the Bears, right? Letting Ryan Pace make decisions on who your quarterback was going to be when he was a dead man walking, and he mortgaged off future capital.
What did Michael Lombardi say about the drafting of Fields?
I don't remember, but
he said it was like farting before you leave a room.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. And that's what the Bulls are going to let AK do. And if that's extending Donovan, you're just digging yourself more into a hole, and you're making it harder on the next guy that's coming in to dig out of it, man. That's all. So that's the what the fuck for me, is just, why are any of these guys still in positions of power to make decisions for this team when they've clearly shown that they're not capable?
Fuck. That's what the Bulls are
right
now.
Yep, they are. And this is a microcosm of it. So
and then we have to pay to watch them and get an antenna, and we can't.
Yeah. And hopefully that's changing. Apparently they're coming back to Comcast. Let's see.
Reinsdorf, this what the fuck's for you. You're the what the fuck, Reinsdorf. That's what the fuck is here.
Real man of genius.
Mr. Roller Cooler Roller.
Yep. Mr. Mediocre Coach Extender
guy.
Yeah.
All righty, man. Let's
it's
clear.
Late.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you everybody who was in the chat, guys.
Get the fuck out of here.
Honestly, crushed it today as always, chat. Bringing the heat, carrying us along, man. Keeping the story moving forward like a good screenplay writer. Dustin, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, I'm burning out here, man.
Yeah, I can see it. All right, JoJo, Foster. Yeah, Oliver, Razzle, all you guys were great in here. Jed was in here as well. I mean, thanks to everybody for joining. Please please subscribe if you have not already. Join us again. We'll be back this weekend for the Northside 9, Monday for the House Hall Hangover, Wednesdays for the Barely There. We're here multiple nights a week, and we just love talking with y'all. So we appreciate all the feedback, and we appreciate all the comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, come show me some love, guys. I'm hosting that Northside 9 this Saturday at noon. Tune in for that, guys. Be my first Cubs show. My first show on a Saturday. So, yeah, a couple news for me, guys. So, please, if you can, come tune in for that, guys. The Cubs are a fun team to watch right now. It's probably the only thing happening in Chicago sports. But we'll be back again, me and Dustin, next Thursday at 11:30 for the Bare Minimum again. Dustin, always a pleasure. Bear down.
Have a great night, everybody. Bear down.